What's up, guys? Gamer folks, how we all doing today? Hi. You like my sweatshirt? I got it from Gucky. It's a little tulip right here. Actually, wait. You guys want a fit check? I'll give you a fit check. Hold on. Let me make sure my screen is shown on something at least. Hold on. Give me a second. Alright. Hold on. Let me give you guys a fit check. Just so you guys can see. Okay. So. Wait, you can't. Can you hear my computer? No, you can't. That's good. Alright. Move this over. Okay, so. Let me move my. Alright. So I got pants. You know, we got the nice gray pants. But then. Hope you guys can see. You can't see. What the heck? What's wrong with my face cam? I got tulips in the back. Isn't that beautiful? And this sweatshirt is really comfy. I love this sweatshirt. Like, I was wearing a different one the other day. That was really comfy as well. And then I just have gray pants, and I have slippers on. Not showing you my slippers, because I don't want my feet to show. So, no thank you. But yeah, Jesus. So, don't know. I just updated my Discord. My Discord is a little bit better now. It's not all. It doesn't look like a kid that made this, because there were so many emojis. I hated it. So, what you're gonna do? My Discord is in the description down below, and I just got a new Twitch account. So yes, I am getting serious about my goals for 2024. I don't think I said it in my last live stream for my goals. If I did, I probably was just explaining stuff. But we're gonna put out our goals at the end of this live stream, just so everyone's aware. And by the way, I edit that live stream, so that video will be out maybe around today. It's like 40 minutes long of me talking, but that's also because Galaxy joined. Also, look at this. This is cute. This is my baby. All right. This is Amesy's plushie, and there's only like 647 made, so thank God I was able to get this. This is so cute. They are so cute. Look at this. This is so cute. The little tulip and the little, like, daisy and the backpack. This backpack can come off, and these are, like, Velcro. So this is, like, and I was shocked that this thing is huge. Like, this thing is big. It came, like, with that little bag over there. Let me grab it. Oh, okay. Look at this. This bag is cute. Like, bro, you can't expect me not to keep this. And then I have Amesy's I literally bought all of the Amesy merch, and it's literally on its way now. But it's funny because it's just like, I'm a fan. I'm so glad I got one of the limited time merch. This is in limited time. You could get this, I think, anytime. I think it was just on sale. The limited time I sold in my last live stream. You can go watch that if you want to. But yeah. Okay, I hope I'm talking great, because I know I'm quiet, and I'm trying to work on that. So if you join the Discord, this is what you're going to do. You're going to press verify so you can enter the adventure. Now, if you start the adventure, I want all of you guys to read the rules so you know what to do. And then it would say you're going to become welcome. And then I have info here. I have my Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. I haven't called this my VOD channel yet, just because I haven't made any, like, Twitch live streams. I'm researching how to do that today, so that's a good thing. There's no staff introductions yet because we do not have enough staff or mods, but we will soon. There's going to be an application for that, so If you want to be part of my Discord moderators, there would be an application for that. It would also kind of be the same for my Twitch moderators as well. These are all the role infos. I'm also getting new emotes by Def Animations and myself because I'm kind of an artist. So these are the roles info, and then you got self roles. So you'll get to pick your pronouns, and you also get to pick the pins. And yes, if you don't remember, I am making a Minecraft series, and there is lore. So I made a lore chat, but I'm going to delete any messages that come up in this chat just because it hasn't been released yet. It's just there. These are announcements. As you can tell, I'm live, so of course this is the announcement. TikTok announcements, and then we get the Twitch, and then the server announcements is just saying what's going to happen in the server, if there's going to be any events and stuff. And then the general, we don't need to get into that. The media is for you guys to just send in, like, you know, just nice edits of me or my friends. I should probably explain that more on my Discord, but I didn't. So I'm explaining it here, which is also going to be turned into a video. So what's up, main channel, guys? And then the fan art, again, this was by Def Animations. This person sent it in to me so I could send it in because they don't want to be known online. So only I can talk to them. So not even my right hand people can know. And then this is where you're going to send memes. And then we got general for no mic, gaming for no mic. We got the audience. So let's say, if you guys watch my series, you guys can just talk about it here. And then this would also be, like, maybe I would put in announcements in here and you guys can listen. This is where all the announcements I would be saying would go. The staff would be posting stuff if I can't post stuff. And then if you guys have questions or suggestions for about any of my channels, you can put it in here. Stream chat, you guys could talk in here pretending like it's a stream if you can't, like, offline chat, I guess. And funny stream clips, you put them in here. Get funny stream clips from for me going live on YouTube or on Twitch. You put them in here. This is where the application's gonna go. And then I would be putting my resource or texture packs in here. I don't have any yet because I haven't really downloaded any since I got my new computer, but I will soon. And then this is just Stream VC if you guys wanted to talk. So yeah, that is what we got. I know everyone's going to enjoy this Discord server. I think this is the last time I'm going to change it because we just updated the bots. So I don't think there will be any more updating for now, but soon I will boost my channel. But anyways, we are going to play some games, that's right. And I was thinking we could play some nice old Among Us, because why not? It's just more fun to play Among Us, I guess. I'm just really into Among Us right now. I don't know why. I want to do more games, for sure. Okay, let me get you. Loud. Jesus. Hey. Yeah, we're gonna play some Among Us today, just because I do have a Bed Wars video, but I haven't edited it yet. So videos will be coming out soon. I do not know if you guys can hear me well. If you can, that's great. If not, I am trying to talk as loud as I can because I am a quiet person, as you can tell. I don't speak up. Only with my friends because I'm comfortable. I honestly should set up my boundaries so you guys should know, but I haven't. Alright. We're gonna need to open up my chat. I need to get Streamlabs going so you guys can do it. But anyway. Alright, so this is what I look like. I want dark green. Is there anything to change? I don't think so at the moment. They should add hoods, like hoodies in Among Us, because that would be sick. But no. They are like, nah, we're not gonna do that. That's enough. Messed up. Alright. Online. Fine game. Also, guys, I wanted to let you guys know I have a Nintendo, an Xbox, and VR set up. So soon we'll be doing live stream and videos through my Xbox, Nintendo, and Oculus. So content, fun, more fun stuff. I'm excited. Alright, this better be a good one. Yes, this is. Yay! I love my man. Totally not weird at all. Just totally not weird. We got Among Us. Because I know someone has been demanding for Among Us, and I haven't done it in a while. I should do an Among Us video, but I want to, like, do it with all my friends, and I don't have enough friends to do it, so... Maybe one day, we could do, like, an Among Us event, with fans, because that would be pretty cool. Maybe if we get past 30 members in the Discord, we'll start doing events. So start joining my Discord, people, if you enjoy my videos. Oh, we're starting. Crewmate. That's totally fine. Oh, I'm engineer. I didn't even realize. I was like looking at the people that left. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That is really bad. This person's dumb. Really dumb. It's Rose for sure. This person's so dumb. Where was it in the pigeon? I swear. I know it's Rose because I saw that immediately. Watch, it's gonna be Rose. Let's go! I'm the best! Applause, applause, applause. Ha. Ha, you can't mess with me, you dumbasses. Sorry. I'm sorry. Frick. Let's go. It might be orange because he was standing above the vent, but there is a task, so I'm not sure. Literally, I'm almost done with tasks. This is probably the easiest round I've ever done. I thought that was a body. I'm like, what the frick? No, it's not a body. Na na na. I'm the best person to play Among Us. Because I played it when it first came out, alright? I was obsessed. Like, maybe my IQ isn't that huge anymore, but it still is now. And I caught the imposter, and that was such a dumb move. That was such a dumb move. I know they want. I'm not doing that, sorry. Like, lights is where you can die instantly. Okay, who's in medbay? Alright, he's safe. Blue is good because it says good, so it's good. I mean, I am engineer, so I'm gonna follow him. Okay. Who's the other imposter? Because they're probably keeping low key. I think I'm just trying to look for bodies at this point. Where the frick are the bodies? Oh, someone's on security. Where the frick? Oh my god, I can't type. Stack kill. Ooh. Oh wait, no, people left. I'm sorry. I was just like, what? And I'm dumb. Blue! You were my one-way ticket. Now I'm... I'm sus of white. Because he went in there and I vented. It honestly might be a self-report. Might be self. It might be self-report. It might be self-report. Because he went in there. And then I vented out. Because I'm engineer, right? And then after 2 seconds, lights went out. And then he probably killed him. Because also white's really quiet and I don't like that. I got the IQ! Oh wait, there's 3? Shit. Oh, I should have said I'm done with my tasks. Oh wait, I don't want to die. I should have said I'm done with tasks. Because now I can just stick with people. Watch, I'm gonna die. Orange, don't kill me. Okay. You Why? Get Maroon. Get that boy's ass out of here. I'm trying not to get demonetized here. It's maroon. Oh my god, dinguses. It was maroon. It's freaking maroon. Oh my god. It's maroon. Yes! Yes! Purple! Yes! Purple! Yes! Catch on! Catch on! Please! Please! Please, purple, for the love of God, get that boy's butt out of here. It's maroon. It's not orange. Yep, it's maroon. Maroon, you messed up with that question because it says orange, you dingus! Aha, yes! Yes! It's maroon. Now get maroon's ass out of here. Let's go! Standing ovation for purple that knows how to play this game. Yes! Yes! Oh my god. Everyone put a purple heart in this chat for Chaos is the man. They're the man. Yes, we won. Yes. Yes. I'm happy. Yes, we won. Let's go. Haha. Now what can I get? Let's go. GG. That was a good game. That was a good game. What should I get? I'll get this. Boom. Okay, next time, once we get more, what we're gonna, let me space out. Okay, next we'll do this. And then this, and that, and that, and then that, and then that. Then that. Why is everyone asking? That's probably a fake person. Who's live on Twitch? Oh, it's Tommy in it. I'm trying not to get copyrighted, but that song's stuck in my head. Aw, frick. Alright. Alright. Frick. Why did I do that? I'm doing my task. See, I was doing my task. What can I say? What can I say? They didn't suspect a thing. GG. Lol. Oh. Guys, I'm a master. No one can fool me. He's not. He's not. He's not. I know he isn't. Yeah, this person's... Whoa! Is this... What type of language is this? By the way, like... Sorry, let me get back to, Sorry, I'm tagging someone. Sorry, I was tagging Amesy. I was doing a photo, guys. I should get on my Twitter account more, but I'm not a person that does Twitter. Alright. Oh, so this person just wanted to kill instantly. Oh, this was a stack kill. And that was literally just in storage. That is hilarious. I wasn't paying attention. I was just listening. You see, I didn't go in admin because I like following my tasks along the line thing. You mean prove, not proof. I'm gonna skip because there's not enough info. No one's giving me enough info of who could be sus. So might as well just skip, right? Sorry if I'm buying my nails. I'm just really, like, anxious right now. Bro! Vote you. Why did someone vote me? Excuse me. I just made a valuable reason to skip. Why? Because no one's giving me enough reasons to vote someone. Assholes. The hell? Like, you can't expect me to vote someone and people think it's me when I'm literally just doing my tasks like a normal crewmate would to like end this damn game. I know I'm not PG. I know I'm not PG, but this one of the reasons why I also want to do Twitch is just because helps you grow your community. Oh, I just thought it had med base game, but I don't. And also, like, I don't know, you get to do more stuff with Twitch, I guess. I mean, like, going live on YouTube is fine with me. I just gotta get Streamlabs up, and I don't have that. I'm doing it today after I end stream. It's the Korean one. Jeez. Alright, we just vote out Gray. Just do that. It's gonna be on Instagram because I can. I need to make an Instagram post saying I got Gucky's merch. So it's gray. It says sorry though. I think next round I'll vote Rose. My little Amesy plush is right here, guys, like underneath my microphone. They're chilling. I think my next stream I'm gonna play Fortnite. I don't know why. I just want to. Why is everyone voting me? What am I doing? I'm not the imposter. Yeesh. Wait, I'm going the wrong way. Why am I going the wrong way? I love how this is making me look sus, but at the same time, I don't really care. I'm just doing my task. Like, let someone else do this. Like, if no one's doing it, then I'll do it for sure, but I'm going to admin, okay, and then I'll go to electrical. Where? I was heading towards admin. Yeah, it's Cyan. Cyan probably vented, because we did see Cyan, but then they left. That doesn't mean it's Cyan just because they did the the sabotage. Like, even if they didn't sabotage, This is probably going to be very wrong if I do this, but... I am such a white. Now I'm probably going to look sus. But I'm just putting out my prediction. Okay, well. If we die, then oof me. Oof me. I was right! You bozo! Jeez. Don't kill me. 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 I swear, if one of you guys kill me, I'm gonna be pissed. Mia, you... There is save shifter. I did forget about that. But still, it's... It's literally red. It's... Dang! White's going off at purple. They left because they knew we were gonna lose. That's kind of funny. I hate y'all! I hate y'all so much. It was a good game, but still dumb. I really like chaos. I also just like their... But it's fine. the game. Oh my god. It's the goose. Goose. Goose Gambit. How do we only have 15? Yeesh. Alright, let's play some Among Us. Well, no, it's actually one of my favorite games. Fun fact. I think it's top 3. Scientist is one of the worst. You do not need scientists. I swear, I'm gonna be stack killed. I can't. Get me out of here. Don't make me die. Okay, so I got like nothing. Cool. Best place to die, guys. Electrical. Yellow's dead. That's so great. Squish! No, the goose! Weapons. Okay, that's a new place. Okay. Okay. Who's sus? Bruh. Shapeshift of right. Okay, so white is clear. Girl, why are you saying itself? What is your reason? I didn't even realize my Instagram was still on. Rose is kinda dumb. Yeah, obviously. There were so many people in electrical that I couldn't even remember who was there. I think it's Rose. Rose is being dumb. Let's be real. Okay, but to be fair, just because you're at level 90 doesn't mean that's your IQ. That means you've just played the game so much. That you're probably good at it, but that doesn't mean that it's your IQ, dummy. I don't know why I'm so worked up today. I just am. I just can't. Oh my god, no! Why is everyone voting core? I swear, if it is the imposter, I'm literally gonna lose my mind. Oh, it was skipped. My bad. Guys, my bad. Guys, you saw nothing. You saw nothing. I'll get. Got anything to say, Rose? You got anything to say, Rose? You sussy baka? I blamed white last game. Now white sussing me. That doesn't mean anything. I'm still following Rose just because she's just a pain. I also like being quiet because then I don't get to be sussed out. I only get to say like maybe one word and that's it, and then people vote me for no reason at all. Because they didn't say anything. That's so dumb. That's dumb, you hear? It's treachery. It's also dumb just saying who's the imposter. Don't ruin the game. Just don't ruin the game, bro. You're just making it worse for everyone. I'm just gonna do my tasks. If we die, we die. That's all I gotta say. We're gonna die. So someone get it. Stop lying, man. Gus. You try to say guys. We're voting red. I'm sorry. I'm gonna vote red. Red, you're not doing anyone a favor. You're really not. Just he thinks he's making the game more fun. Thank you. Yes, he's an idiot. He thinks, oh, if I lay all these secrets out, people are gonna be happy we won. No, you're just ruining the fun for everyone in this stupid game. This was such a dumb game. It's making me want to just rage quit now. Yes, he just had to. You know what's funny? It's red, white, blue. American flag. England flag. So many flags. Bye, blue. I remember someone did that to me. Like, they said who was the imposter, and I was so pissed at them. I was just like wanting to leave the game because you can't just ruin that for everyone. Hey, they ruined it, and that's their fault. Honestly, I'm leaving the game. That was so dumb. Okay, I want to go in the shop real quick. I do have one. That's good. Okay, next one that I would want to get would be you. No, not that one. This right here. My bad. Is there any beanies that I can buy? Is. Guys, what color beanie should I get since I'm obsessed with beanies? Like, I love beanies. Should I get the green, the ice blue, light green, pink, purple, white, or yellow? Which one? I think I'm gonna get the, oh wait, I don't have enough. My bad. Wait, what can I buy? I get enough. Okay. I thought I had enough. That's kind of dumb. My bad. Okay. Now I got all the flags I wanted, so it's good. Alright, I think we'll do one more round, and if it sucks, we're leaving and playing a different game. Should I just start? No, 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 no. I'm sorry. No. No, 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 no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. No, let me leave this stupid game. I'm sorry. But you think it's funny saying that word? No, it isn't. As being half as African American and my dad's side of the family being African American, that's offensive. That is dumb. And you shouldn't even say that. I'm calling them the B word off camera because I don't want to get demonetized. They say it as a joke. It's not a joke. It can hurt someone's feelings, and it's just so stupid. I hate this. I hate this so much. Okay. We're leaving. We're not playing last game. Sorry. Sorry, everyone. No. No. I don't tolerate with that shit. No. Alright, you know what we're going to do? I want to react to something, but I want to do it live. So we're going to do that. Let me share my screen. Oh, it has Discord. Hold on. Join my Discord. Let me... Okay. So everyone knows FNAF, right? Well, what I want to do... We're going to look at the FNAF game theory timeline. Just because we can. And I want it to be on my thing. Also, he came up with a new theory for FNAF, so we'll look at that also. But right now, we're going to look at the timeline. And then we'll look at it.
It's a different approach. To imagine your future differently.
Hold on, there's a freaking ad and I want to show it.
University's game-changing FlexPath format. Set your own deadlines and access coursework anytime.
Why am I getting so much ads?
Phones were so different back in the day.
Today.
Okay, hold on. Let me get the chat out. Why am I getting so much ads? Boom. Okay, hold on. Alright, we're gonna react to this now, and I'm excited. So, actually, I'm gonna start recording. Alright. Let's do this.
Today we end the torment. 19 books, 11 games, 8 whole years, all leading to this moment. The ultimate FNAF timeline is finally complete. The pieces are in place for us. Now all we have to do is put this story of tragedy, jealousy, and loss back together. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that feels like a kid revealing the class project that he's been working on all year. Except here, it's the class project that I've been working on for the past decade of my life. This one is big, my friends, and I gotta admit, kinda nervous. I haven't attempted a timeline video on this franchise since 2018. Back in the days when Mike was the crying child, Afton coming back was actually a surprise, and Fazgoo wasn't a phrase I'd ever thought I'd have to utter. But since the last time I did something like this, we've had 3 more massive games.
You guys can hear it, and you guys can hear me well, right? I'm not too loud. Am I too loud for you guys? So I'm just adjusting the volume at the moment. I want to make sure everything's good. So, wait, let me hear myself.
Massive games.
You guys can hear it, and you guys can hear me well, right? I'm not too loud. Alright, that's good. That is really good, honestly. Alright.
Than you can shake a staff bot at. It is exhausting trying to keep track of this whole franchise, which honestly is why I'm here today. The lore at this point is complicated. It is full of speculation and theory, so to hopefully make it a little easier for everyone and to give us all a baseline to talk about this franchise moving forward into the future, it's time to reveal my current working FNAF timeline. But just before I do, I just want to explain a couple of things. First, this timeline is massive. Seriously, it is huge. This thing towers over any video project we have ever done on the channel. But when you look at the totality of this franchise, the story of FNAF really boils down to the story of one man, William Afton. His successes, his failures, his rise to becoming co-owner of one of the most successful restaurant franchises in the world, and his eventual fall to the monsters he helped to create, only to then be reborn in a new digital form later. That's why I've decided to split this timeline into 3 main chunks. The foundation of Freddy's, how the business started and how it came into being, the Afton era, William's decades-long murder spree, and post-Purple Guy. Basically modern FNAF. Everything that happens after the pizzeria simulator fire. And because there are lots of new big revelations in this thing that seemingly come out of nowhere, as well as just points I want to talk about further, I decided to dedicate 1 episode to each chunk. I originally wanted it to be one seamless continuous video, but it just felt incomplete without some sort of explanation at the end of each one. Once this whole thing's done, I promise I'm gonna merge all the narrative bits into one massive video so you can just skip my explanations. But for now, this just felt like the best best, most satisfying, most complete way to do this. That being said, this is still about the story, the broad strokes of the franchise. So in order to make sure that you guys know that I'm not just pulling answers out of thin air, not only am I discussing some of the more controversial bits at the end of each chunk, we're also putting in a handy little graphic in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, which will show thumbnails, video titles, books, and any other citations that we need throughout the video.
That's good.
So if you wish to understand that specific statement in more detail, you know exactly where we've taken.
Fun fact, I watch his series nonstop. And what I do sometimes is, like, I would rewatch all of his old, like, theories into the newer eras. So I have seen all his FNAF theories. And this was, like, probably during the summertime. So that was crazy. But, yeah.
Taking it from. That way you can look into those details for yourself. So sit back, grab some popcorn or your pitchforks.
Sorry, but I'm not a big fan of popcorn. I'm a picky eater. And it could be from the texture, the smell, or just the taste of it. So if I haven't had when I was young and I just don't like it, I don't like it. Haven't tried, don't like it. That means I don't like it. All right? If you think I'm missing out, I probably am. But hey, these are my taste buds, and I like what I like. So
if you're the type to get upset when I say something controversial, and make sure that you subscribe, since this is going to be a video that you're going to want to come back to a few times in order to fully dissect. Without any more waiting, I present to you the story of a loving, obsessive father who slowly descended into madness, and along the way, discovered the secret to eternal life. Our story begins not in the 1980s, or even in the 1970s, but all the way back in the 1930s.
Depression.
It was the throes of the Great Depression.
Yep.
People were in desperate need of cheap entertainment, especially in Utah, one of the states hit hardest, fourth highest unemployment in the nation, and full of transients. People looking for work in Salt Lake, finding none, and ultimately moving on to find their fortunes out in California. People were tired and they were hungry, but as they traveled, there was one thing that could lift their spirits. A simple roadside attraction called Fredbear's Singin' Show. The ads were plastered all over town, featuring an animated bear drawn in the popular pie-eyed cartoon style for characters at the time. He resembled cartoons like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Betty Boop. It immediately said that this, Fredbear's, was a place where you could bring the family. And the price, honestly, couldn't be beat. For 50 cents, you could get food and entertainment as you watched the local trained real-life dancing bear perform on stage. Normally, you only got to see dancing bears at large traveling circuses like Barnum and Bailey, where the tickets would go for about $1. That's $1 without food. But this was a smaller show, like the type from the Vaughn brothers or the Robbins brothers, where tickets would sell for just a mere 50 cents. Watching that bear do tricks on stage brought a glimmer of joy at a time when so much was wrong with the world. The simple show would go on for years, bringing happiness to hundreds of travelers passing through looking for a quick meal. But it left a permanent impression on one little boy, capturing his imagination in a way that nothing else had. One little boy named Billy. That was his nickname at least, but his parents liked to call him William Afton.
Okay, question. How can Billy be a nickname for William? That makes no sense. It could be, I would see Will and Willie, like, for William. But Billy? Come on. I don't see that. Can anyone see that?
It could dance, it could sing. For decades, William dreamed of recreating that moment of bringing a musical bear to life, but how? William was smart, without a doubt, and he had a keen mind for business, but he wasn't the most creative. How do you make a singing, dancing bear come to life? The best he could do was using rudimentary costumes. William was inspired by the work of Walt Disney, who throughout the 50s and 60s was pioneering the use of mascot suits throughout his theme park. The big innovation? Suits with 5 fingers. This allowed the performers wearing the suits to use their natural arms and hands to interact with the guests.
Mobile games are going...
As opposed to the older models where the arms would just hang limply by their sides. Finally, with a simple mascot suit, he would be able to realize his childhood dream. He would be able to bring Fredbear to life. To appeal to the kids, and for copyright reasons, he changed Fredbear from a realistic brown animal to a cartoonish yellow bear with a purple hat and bow tie. But feeling like one character wasn't enough, he added another friend, a yellow rabbit with a purple vest and matching tie named Bonnie the Bunny. While Fredbear was certainly his first love, Bonnie was extra special because that was his. It was an original character that he had created from scratch. And I do mean scratch. William's hand-sewn costumes were rough with seams and stitches visibly showing, but it was the best that he could do. And you know what? It was just enough. Bonnie and Fredbear would perform on stage to small but enthusiastic crowds. Finally, he was able to deliver fantasy and fun to all the kids, delighting and inspiring them in the exact way that he had been delighted and inspired so many years ago. And things could have ended there. That could have been the end to his story. It could have been perfect had it not been for one thing. Other people saw the success of his idea and they wanted in. Enter Chica's Party World, a rival restaurant starring performing animal characters. His idea, except they did it better. William may have been the first, but obviously he wasn't the best. It hurt the prideful William Afton to admit it, but this restaurant was able to do the thing that he always wanted to do: make the animals actually come to life. All of the performers in this restaurant were robots, simple metal skeletons that were powered by battery packs, but all of them able to freely turn and talk and dance on their own, no human required. It was like magic that came from the mind of a brilliant creator named Henry Emily. This Henry, in some small way, had been able to harness the power of life itself. Afton admired him. He was jealous, to be sure, but he also looked upon this man with awe.
I have the series of the Silver Eyes. I literally have that book.
Off to one side of Chica's Party World was a small cabaret stage featuring an elephant magician. On the other, a hippo known to ramble on and on. That one was more of a joke for the parents, but it was the main stage that was for the kids. A rocking band of characters featuring a yellow chicken thing with a southern drawl named Chica, backed by a band of other country-themed characters, including a pig with a banjo, an upbeat frog from the local swimming hole, and a brown bear with a heavy southern accent. Wait. A bear? But bears were his animals. Why not a cow or a horse? Something to fit the country theme a bit better. Why'd it have to be a bear? And adding insult to injury, they had the nerve to call this thing Ned Bear, a direct copy of his own Fredbear.
Whoops, that's gonna leave a mark.
No, that was not okay. Afton's jealous admiration turned to hardened bitterness. A bitterness that would only grow over the next couple of years as families continued to choose Chica's Party World over Fredbear's. William just couldn't compete with the appeal of the robots. Eventually, his restaurant would go bankrupt, only to get bailed out by, of course, Henry Emily. Another insult, another humiliation that William wouldn't soon forget. 1979. Despite being bitter, Afton couldn't deny that what came next was a period of massive success and expansion. With the two franchises now merged into one, it was the best of both worlds. Afton's ideas with Henry's robotic expertise. The two men decided to launch under a new name, Fredbear's Family Diner, a pizza chain that would eventually come to feature a mix of humans in performing suits as well as on-stage animatronics. They decided to stick with Fredbear as the headliner, considering the yellow bear was easily identifiable as a brand and because he was the original performing animal mascot. Afton appreciated that. This new restaurant would also see a mix of characters as the two franchises merged into one, with Pig Patch and Happy Frog performing right alongside Fredbear and Bonnie. And as part of this one big Fredbear family, they even got themselves official merch that were released, ranging from masks to magnets.
The crappy Mr. Hippo fridge magnet?
That said, not all the characters were winners. The reception to some characters was just mediocre, so they faded away into the dumpster, storage units, and retro budget tech stores of lost nostalgia, waiting for their chance to step back into the limelight if and when a headliner went out of commission. Others, though, would fare much better, like a new Pirate Fox, as well as a blue guitar-playing variant of the yellow Bonnie Bunny. Ultimately, the franchise—
What's your guys' favorite animatronic? Mine is Foxy. And then I like Funtime Foxy, and I don't know, it could either be somewhere between, I don't know, I just have a lot of like FNAF plushies in my room. I want to collect all of them because that's how obsessed I am. I literally have an Amazon list full of like FNAF stuff that I want. Like FNAF is probably what piqued me into getting into content. I don't know, I just really love FNAF. Like when it first came out and when I first got my own plushie with my own money, like I still have the plushie, it's a Foxy plushie, like the tiny one. I was just like, yep, this is like Minecraft and FNAF made me want to do content, so
would get so big it would spawn its own cartoon show, Fredbear and Friends. Business was booming. In the end, Fredbear and Bonnie's popularity would be so strong that they would be able to support the Fredbear's Family Diner franchise all on their own, while also spinning off a new sister location dedicated to their friends. In 1983, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza launched, giving a dedicated home to all this new supporting cast of characters: Chica the Chicken, Bonnie the Blue Bunny, Foxy the Pirate, and of course the headliner, a brown Freddy Fazbear. Business was good, and Afton was happy, mostly. It did bother him that the one original character that he created, the one that he himself played, Golden Bonnie, got passed over for inclusion in that cartoon show. The only character in the roster of regulars to get ignored for the show, but other than that, things were going smoothly. He had himself a wife, 2 sons, a daughter, he had a thriving business, and best of all, he was able to learn the craft of robotics from the man that he both loved and hated, Henry. Together, they were constantly pushing the limits of what these characters could do. Because it was quick and easy, new characters introduced into the roster would be given a simple hand-sewn suit with 5 fingers that any performer could wear. Eventually, Henry would design one of his signature animatronics for that character, utilizing a divided mouth with either a hinged or sliding jaw design. This was the first generation of animatronics. But why?
We hate ads.
Stop there. Afton had big ideas. What if the animatronics weren't just locked to the stage, but could freely roam the restaurant and interact with the kids?
So
what if his
Springlock,
mascot suits could become animatronics? What if you could use more than just rigid metallic skeletons? Why not experiment with tubes and wires that would give the animatronics fluidity and flexibility while still providing...
What is the creepiest, like, animatronic you think is out there? Because, honestly... Freddy Fazbear? You would choose Freddy Fazbear? Nice. Honestly, for me, I think the most scariest is probably the nightmares. But the wire ones in Sister Location, that is interesting. I find that one interesting. I don't know why, I just do.
Structure. The possibilities for this technology were endless. Afton fell in love with robotics. He had started with a dream of bringing one simple singing bear to life, but with robots, he had stumbled across the tools that gave him the ability to control life itself. And thanks to Henry, he was practically speedrunning his way to an engineering degree. And while William wouldn't admit it out loud, one other thing that kept pushing him forward was the desire to beat his former rival, to prove himself smarter and more capable, to surpass the man who everyone else considered to be a visionary genius. But pride cometh before the fall, and tragedy was about to strike. Okay, so that brings us to the end of part 1 of the story. That said, at the end of each of these chunks, I want to break down some of the logical leaps that I made, since the more narrative format doesn't give me much of a chance to justify a lot of the big decisions. And admittedly, there are some large leaps in here. Let's just start off with Fredbear's Singin' Show, shall we? We know, based on the retro poster that was hidden in Security Breach, that at least at one point, Fredbear was an actual bear. And like I called out in that narrative segment, dancing bear shows were a real form of entertainment. The only problem is that, timing-wise, none of our main characters would be the people in charge of that business in the 30s and a series of pizza restaurants in the 80s without them just being extremely old. Best case scenario, if Afton's running the Singin' Show when he's 18, that still puts him at nearly 70 when the first pizzeria opens and his murder spree begins.
No sense.
It just doesn't make a lot of logical sense, because he doesn't become immortal until his first death in Springtrap. That's why I suspect that Fredbear's Singin' Show was either a family business that Afton then carried on to a new generation, or something that he saw as a kid and just wanted to recreate when he grew up. The Fredbear Singin' Show thing also starts laying the groundwork for some of the core elements of the story, that Freddy's was a place of fantasy and fun, and that Afton, despite eventually falling to become the heartless serial killer and mad scientist that we know him as, began as someone with good intentions and a love of entertaining kids. He wanted to bring things to life.
I love how he always researches his stuff and then just knows how to make it, you know, able to explain his theories. That's what theories are, and I love it so much.
Life from the very beginning, a theme that recurs a lot for him throughout the rest of the franchise. Next up, let's talk about those mascot costumes.
Also, can we just say, every time I watch a game theory or just one of his other theory channels, time goes by quick. Like, at first, I think I watched one of his theories, it was like maybe 30 minutes long. Next thing I know, it's 1:30 or 2 o'clock. I'm like, how does this boy do this? He talks fast, and he knows how to explain, and he can do it in bits of time. That is insane. Unless if it's just editing skills. I'm not sure, but it's pretty good.
Back to is the design of Glitch Trap. It's a handcrafted suit. You can see the seams and everything. It even has 5 fingers for the performer's hands. It is very much not a Springtrap suit. This is something much more rudimentary. It came at a time before animatronics were a part of the story. That's why I suspect that it was actually the first, predating literally everything. It's also a suit that is very personal to Afton. He put his digital consciousness in that form. It's his personal avatar. It's the way that he sees himself. There's also a whole separate discussion to be had here about the habits and rituals of serial killers. So the fact that he's choosing to lure kids and kill them in this particular suit actually says a lot about his emotional attachment to it. So while Fredbear seems to have started as someone else's creation, Golden Bonnie was uniquely Williams, giving him a personal connection. And that's not all. In this whole franchise, only one set of characters have themselves 5 fingers, the Nightmares. Even Golden Freddy, Fredbear, was a 5-fingered wearable suit at one point in the story, as we see in this shot from the graphic novel, before he, like everyone else, was turned into an animatronic. This seems to imply that all of the main characters had similar wearable mascot outfits at least at one point in time, and that whoever is having the FNAF 4 nightmares, if they even are nightmares, something that we'll touch on in part 2, saw those mascot suits specifically. Lastly, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. The literal elephant, Orville Elephant, as well as the rest of the mediocre melodies. For a while now, I've suspected that the mediocre melodies played a much more important role in the story than just being a bunch more animatronics to fill out the roster. Especially Nedbear, which is just so suspiciously close to Fredbear. And yet, there are 2 key details that we're gonna have to justify with any mediocre melodies mention. One, they're very rudimentary with external battery packs, implying that they come very early in the timeline. And 2, we know that, at minimum, Mr. Hippo does eventually become an official member of the extended Freddyverse. But if these things are supposed to be cheap, generic rip-offs, why would you be trying to rip off yourself? You wouldn't. You would be stealing someone else's ideas. So if Afton created Fredbear, there would have to be some rival franchise. The only other person who would likely be ripping him off.
It does make sense. It does make sense. I get it.
Henry. We've talked extensively about how the mediocre melodies are clearly Henry's design aesthetic. So it just has to be him. I don't think Henry's doing this maliciously. He doesn't strike me as the type. He was likely building the robots at the orders of someone else that was running a rival restaurant franchise. But that's enough motivation to start Afton down a path of jealous rivalry, but also begrudging admiration. As the Freddy Files Ultimate Edition says, it's important to revisit the beginning of Henry and William's relationship, so here you go. I think this is where it begins.
I have this book, and I have, like, the first older book. It's, like, back here. So, I'm trying to get the newer one, though.
Also, this is future Matt Pat here, coming back to add this one in. Seems like the recently released character encyclopedia has backed up all of this speculation. I've had this timeline written for about a month now, but I've also been holding off a bit to see what wrenches this character encyclopedia might throw into it. And on this particular point, I gotta say, it seems like we might actually have nailed it. They actively call out the suspicious similarities to the main Fredbear crew. Quote from one of the pages: Nedbear looks like an imitation, altered just enough to avoid copyright issues. I don't know about you, but that seems to imply that we were right on the money. Knowing all of this, at one point the franchises had to have merged. That's really the only way that you get Mr. Hippo from the rival franchise as part of the Fazbear crew. This also mirrors a lot of what happened in the real-life history of Chuck E. Cheese, with 2 rival restaurants, each with their own cast.
Can I just say, Chuck E. Cheese is my childhood. I love Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know why. I know there's like rumors about the food. I don't even know if it's true or not. But their pizza is good. I always love playing the games, and I had my birthday party there a lot as a kid. And they had like the old animatronics, but then it just had the mascot that was more better. Like, I know Chuck E. Cheese is probably like one of the creepiest, but it's close to FNAF, and I love it still as an adult. Not an adult, a young teenager.
characters merging to become one unified brand. Again, we've gone into that in detail with other videos, just wanted to remind you all of that here. But why would I call out the rival restaurant as being named Chica's Party World? Few things actually. First, we know for a fact that a location named Chica's Party World exists. It is mentioned in the source code teasing sister location, so it is out there somewhere and doesn't fit cleanly anywhere. Second, in the story The Puppet Carver, Chica is very explicitly looped in with the book versions of Pig Patch and Ned Bear,
Scott
implying that
Cawthon
she
has made
started
great
as
lore
a
and
mediocre
great
melody.
games.
Thirdly, her design
I would
just
never
fits
get
better
bored
with the
of his
theme of
games.
down-home country animals with southern accents playing the banjo and eating with bibs. And with her being the headliner of the show with her name on the restaurant, it would make sense then that when the restaurants merged, she was the one that was added to the main cast of characters while all the other mediocres faded away. It's also why when Freddy's closes after William's killing spree, she's the one to branch back off into her old franchise and is therefore missing in sister location, a detail that's bothered me for years at this point. It might also explain why William decided to stuff his first dead kid into Chica. That one was Henry's creation, not his. Is all of this a big leap? Yeah. Is it connecting a lot of dots that are very spread out across the franchise
No, he's
that I've
right.
been
He's
holding on
pretty
in the
right.
back of my mind for years? Absolutely. But I think it makes sense. It also serves as a clean answer to a lot of the random threads that Scott's been leaving dangling for years. So with all of that in mind, my friends, we can close the book on the foundation of Freddy's. And don't worry, next week I'll be back to give you arguably
I'm live. Oh. Everyone say hi to my mom. Hello. I don't know if they heard you. Alright, so that's what we know. We're going to the second one.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game
Game
Theory,
Theory.
and officially page 7 of the FNAF timeline script. Last time we covered the origins of Freddy's. We talked about William Afton's childhood dream project of making a singing bear come to life, and the infuriating moment that his dream is copied by a rival restaurant franchise looking to steal away his success. The merger of the two franchises results in William meeting Henry, a brilliant designer with a knack for robotics. Working together, they make Fredbear's flourish, spawning popular Saturday morning cartoon shows, toy lines, and spin-off restaurants under the Fazbear name. When last we left him, Afton was thriving, the world of robotics opening his eyes to new and exciting ways of bringing characters to life. Bringing things to life, yeah, that was his core driving force, his passion. And it was this very passion that would mutate, twist, and morph from here on out in the story. Because with life, there is inevitably death, something that Afton would become intimately familiar with. But before Afton acquaints himself with death, I want you to take some time to acquaint yourself with our...
Okay, there we go.
Dark in a hurry.
After era.
1983, business was booming with two whole restaurant franchises running, Fredbear's Family Diner and the newly opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Together, William and Henry had been able to take the hybrid suit idea and make it into a reality. They called their new invention the Springlock suit, and fittingly enough, it was symbolic of the partnership between these two men.
Has anyone, okay, I know I keep pausing, but has anyone seen the FNAF movie? I want you to put in the chat, what are your thoughts on FNAF movie? I thought it was great. Hold on. I got the movie, and I'm gonna watch it tonight because I love it so much. I literally went to the movie theater like maybe 10 times, and the first time I went with my friend, and oh my god, I know I stumbled on some big fans because people were dressing up, people were bringing their merchandise, and it was just fun, and the movie theater experience was great, like, with fans and stuff. It's great. Like, they were loud. Everyone was loud. There were, like, adults next to me telling my friend and I to shush, and people next to us that we were talking with. But we didn't care. It was fun also because I got to curse. But you know what? It was fine. And I'm also excited for a Bendy English movie to come out. I'm not a huge fan on it, but I know the lore well enough. And I think any video game movie that comes out, I think I'm just going to buy the DVD just because I love games. So, we're going to continue now.
Human suit as designed by William that could become a freestanding Henry-style robot. But because it was still new tech with kinks to work out, the rollout was limited, restricted only to the Fredbear's Family Diner location. All of this meant that William was busier than ever. He didn't have time to be a full-time parent, so he designed a nanny cam system where cameras and speakers were hidden throughout the neighborhood, as well as in his youngest son's favorite toy, Psychic Friend Fredbear. I mean, plushy Fredbear. But since cameras just weren't enough to raise a kid, he also left childcare duties to his eldest son, Michael. There was just one problem with that. Michael was far from the best babysitter. He tormented...
Okay, this is probably the last time I'm pausing, but I just wanted to say, They should make an Afton, like, Lego set figures of them and plushies of his family. Just because I really want one. And, like, I tried to make my own custom Lego figures. Like, they're up on my shelf over there. I can show you guys, like, maybe a different day. But, like, come on.
His younger brother by jump scaring him with a Foxy mask and constantly left him behind. William watched all of it from his cameras. Kids would be kids. Tomorrow was another day after all. Except Michael's torment didn't stop. Bitter, angry thoughts would run through Michael's mind. Why did he have to be the one to take care of this whining crybaby all the time? It just wasn't fair. It was time that he got even with his brother by playing the ultimate prank. A prank that just so happened to be on this crying child's birthday. He and his friends would take his scared little brother and make him do the one thing that he was terrified of doing, getting close to the animatronics. That would be embarrassing for the kid that was such an embarrassment to him. His brother squirmed, screamed, kicked, and fought, but just as they were putting that small, squirming boy up to Fredbear's lips, the mouth snapped shut. The sensitive spring locks inside the body had been triggered by the boy's movements, and they'd immediately clamped down. The wriggling stopped. The boy went limp, but it was just a prank. It was meant to be funny. The boy was taken to the hospital and was immediately given an IV. Flowers and pills filled the nightstand next to his hospital bed, but the damage was too severe. He couldn't recover. As the younger brother's consciousness began to fade, he could hear Michael's last words, a small and flimsy apology. But his father, Williams, through the voice of the Fredbear plush, were a firm and committed promise to a dying son. You're broken. I will put you back together.
That line
This would not be the end.
just
No
gave
matter
me the
what,
chills
Williams'
again.
son would live again. It would just take time. Time that, right now, he just didn't have. His young son's heart flatlined as the boy faded into the inky unknown of the afterlife. In the aftermath of the tragedy, changes started happening around the restaurants. Kids were now required to wear security wristbands to prevent anyone from getting outside without parental permission. Any kid who approached the exit without permission would have to answer to the security puppet, a marionette on strings that could fly around on rails across the restaurant to stop kids in their tracks. It was William's idea, inspired by Michael constantly leaving the restaurant without his brother. In the wake of Fredbear's spring lock failure, all the hybrid suits were getting retired, locked away at the nearby Freddy Fazbear location. It was yet another tough pill to swallow after all the hard work that he and Henry had put into them. William would eventually bury the boy's small body in a remote location out in the woods right alongside his drive into and out of work every day. The death of this little boy sent the family spiraling. His wife, crippled with grief, was so distraught that all she could do was sit and watch TV. But his son Michael was far worse, complaining of seeing hallucinations of a golden bear standing outside of his window. The boy was so racked with guilt that he was convinced that he was being haunted by the ghost of his brother stuck inside the suit that took his life. The suit's three-toed feet digging into the wet earth. The words, "It's me," ringing through Michael's ears. Some nights, Michael would even go so far as to break out of his room to check the gravesite and ensure that his brother was still there. As for William himself, he disappeared into his work and his drinks. Junior's, the local bar, wasn't far from his son's gravesite. He found himself going there more and more frequently, spending longer and longer amounts of time there. The bar gave him a place to think, to remember, to reflect and stew on how Henry had stolen his idea for an animal-themed restaurant. How they'd cut his character out of the cartoon when everyone else was there. How Henry had humiliated him by buying him out of bankruptcy. And now there was his son. Henry had taken his son from him. The robotic part was the
It's kind of your fault for being absent.
William ordered one more drink, but it was one too many. The bar turned him out and told him to go home. But William didn't go home. Drunk and angry, William raced back to the restaurant to give Henry a piece of his mind, only to find someone else waiting. Henry's daughter, Charlie, locked outside of the building.
I know he, like, murdered Charlie and all, but did you just have a random knife with you? Like, how did that go wrong? If you're drunk, like, do you just keep it in your car? Like, what the heck?
Bullies laughing at her through the window. Fine, some other problem to fix. But then Afton got an idea. A beautifully awful idea. This was his chance to get back at the man that had humiliated him all those years ago. Henry had killed his business, and now Henry's robotic suit had killed his son. It was time for William to do some killing of his own. Let Henry feel what it's like to have something you love get ripped away. While parties continued inside the walls of the pizzeria, William attacked Charlie in the back alley. It felt good. He felt free. The years of resentment and bitterness trapped in his heart finally released in a moment of pure unapologetic evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts. And in that moment, William became a killer. He dropped Charlie's lifeless body and drove home, forced to confront his family problems later that night. Appalled, but also a little excited by what he had just done. Charlie's death would remain on the books as a random act of violence. And though Henry had suspicions about William, there was no physical evidence, nothing that could link him back to the crime. In the weeks that followed, Fredbear's family diner would close for good. 2 high-profile deaths around the restaurant with 2 grieving owners in such a short period of time was just too much bad press to handle. Besides, Freddy Fazbear's was still open, and it was the newer restaurant anyway. All the equipment from the diner, including the old yellow suits and security puppet, would get retired to that location, and there they would sit for 2 uneventful years. The rest of 1983 and 1984 were spent quietly grieving. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the new cast of characters were a hit. Tragic memories of their yellow predecessors quickly faded. Afton kept a low profile and buried himself in work and research, quickly reaching Henry's level of engineering and even surpassing him. And while Henry slowed down to grieve, Afton kept going, even starting his own company, Afton Robotics, for all those pet projects.
Good brand name, but people just grieve in so many different ways. Like, yeah, I'm a murder trial because I got drunk, but it was also a random act of violence as well. And Henry is grieving like a normal person would. Actually, like, I lost my child. They're my child.
That were a little bit too experimental for the regular operations of the pizzeria. The first of these experimental projects was a secret workshop under his house, a veritable bunker, which allowed him to work.
Wait, I just remember what my other favorite animatronics were. It was Balloon Boy and Moondrop. So I like Foxy, Funtime Foxy, which is kind of also low bit, and then I like Moondrop and Balloon Boy. So basically 5 or 4.
Monitoring his kids via hidden security cameras. 1983. A passcode that served as a constant reminder of why the cameras were so important. Why he was down there in the first place. This was all to fulfill the promise that he had made to his son, right? I will put you back together. This was for him. All for him. Right? But cameras weren't enough. He needed to solve the runaway Michael problem. He had to keep him in the house. He couldn't have another one of his kids wind up dead inside of an animatronic suit. So why not run a little experiment on Michael? You see, all this work with Henry had gotten Afton to start learning more about life, robots, the human mind, and what a fallible machine we as humans were.
Yes,
our reality is so easy to manipulate with a few sensory deceptions. Deceptions like sound. With just a few sounds, he had discovered that he could alter a person's vision. He could transform blank, smooth plastic robots into lumbering, twisted nightmares. Nightmares far scarier than he could create with actual materials. They would appear organic, rotting, putrid, terrifying. These would be his means of keeping his son Michael in the house where he belonged. Was it extreme? Maybe. But then again, this was the boy who had killed his son. He would make him sorry. And so Michael would grow up not only dealing with the memories of his own guilt, the hospital room, the pills, the flowers, the death of his brother, but also facing literal nightmares, illusions created by sound. Michael would never forget these either.
But
Years later, as a security guard, he would
it's also crying child, right? Wait, is a crying child named Evan or Chris? It's Evan. Yeah, I forgot. It's Evan. So, but it's also Evan who gets the nightmares as well, right? Or am I just wrong? Because this lore and timeline can always twist it up.
Draw pictures of them inside of his logbook. But all of these extra projects meant that his home life suffered even more. He was an absent father and a non-existent husband, leaving his wife cold and alone.
Why do you hide inside your walls when there is music in my halls? All I see is an empty room, no more joy, an empty tomb.
And despite her repeated demands that he leave his office and engage with the family, he refused time and time again, leaving her no choice but to leave.
You burned down my house?
But why didn't you take your son with you? That's kind of a stupid way.
You need to see your son.
The baby isn't mine.
Well, how's this? I'm keeping the diamond ring.
And through it all, there was one lingering feeling. William wasn't done. He had gotten a taste of what it felt like to be unleashed, what it felt like to be free. Charlie's murder had unlocked something in him, and he wanted more. June 26th, 1985. Putting on the golden Bonnie suit, he lured children one by one to the back room of the pizzeria when no one was looking. At first, he was cautious. He would lure them with promises of cake and cookies. He told them that their dog had died. He would ask for help with homework. Susie was the first. You never truly forget your first.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
But where to hide the bodies? He couldn't sneak out. Someone would see him. He had to hide them in a place where they'd never be found and where they'd never leave the building. They had to be stuffed.
That's
Inside
really
of the
cruel
suits. No one
and
maintained
sick.
those things anyway except for him. And so Susie would go into Chica. Fritz, Jeremy, and Gabriel would come next. But it was easy. It was too easy. And with each little life he snuffed
Like,
out,
I
his
know
lies
this isn't lore. I should have my FNAF plushies, but yet I have my AMZ plushie with me. My C AMZ plushie with me. I don't know why. You know what we should do? I think next live stream or reaction, we'll start reacting to the Area Unknown stuff because, yeah.
got bigger. Their house was burning. They're just being kidnapped. Until the last one where all pretense was off. He let himself get violent. Too violent.
I'll just wait for him after school, throw a bag over his head, hit him with a shovel, and drag him into the back of my car.
The body of Cassidy was far more bloody and broken than any of the others.
Okay, but
He'd let
Cassidy's
himself
a
go
boy,
too far.
not a girl.
That one he shouldn't have killed. With no more active animatronics
Wait, is
left,
Cassidy
he shoved the
a
body.
girl or a boy? Because I know in the game he's a boy, but people in theories think it's a girl. I think it's a boy for sure because in the game, it's in the game he's a boy. So officially he's a boy.
The one suit that remained backstage, the long-forgotten yellow Fredbear, now broken and discolored with age. Broken, like Cassidy was broken, like his son was broken. Newspapers reported on this disappearance, naming the whole thing the missing children's incident. Police would even charge William with the crimes after finding security footage of the golden mascot suit luring kids to the back, but they couldn't convict him. They had no bodies, and his face had been hidden behind the mascot suit the entire time. What they had was circumstantial at best, and so he walked away a free man.
Jeez.
But Henry knew the truth. In these murders, he saw his daughter Charlie all over again. So he threw Afton out of the company and shuttered the doors to the old pizzeria. Henry would keep the franchise quiet for 2 years. This would not happen again. This could not happen again. How could he protect the kids? Finally, he developed a solution. He would implement an even more extreme security system in the form of new animatronics. Toy animatronics, inspired by the toys that they had been selling years ago. But these guys, these were special.
These
they
are
were a
creepy.
new breed of robot with
And
facial...
why does Chica look so sexy? Also, I like Cupcake. I forgot. Cupcake is one of my favorite as well because Cupcake does not get enough credit, but I love Cupcake. Anyway, but why does Chica's body just look so sexy? That's just kind of not childproof. No.
recognition abilities.
But most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database so they can detect a predator a mile away.
All the original animatronics, now withered with age, were moved to the new location.
Okay,
With a plan in place, it was
animatronics,
time
I
to
just
try
realized
once
I'm
more.
probably
The year was
the best
1987, and the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's
People
Pizza
go-
was making headlines in
There's
local
more people that go
newspapers.
way
Headlines
overboard
that
than
just so
me.
happened to catch the attention of William Afton. Freddy's was back, and without him, that was his idea, his character. Henry was, yet again, trying to cut him out of the picture. No. As long as these restaurants stayed open, William would always come back. Then he noticed the phone number to apply at the bottom of the article. $100 a week to apply call. Afton would go back, not as an owner or co-founder. He would go back in the one place that they would least suspect him, a lowly day shift security guard. And there it was. Buried in the back of parts and services mixed in with the old withered animatronics was the golden rabbit. With the yellow security badge still on his chest, he used his crank to pull open the spring locks. It was time for Bonnie to give an encore performance.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. a position just became available.
1987, 5 more kids. He didn't know what felt better, getting back into the suit after 2
This
long
is
years
the
of
vibe
waiting,
they
or knowing
said.
how devastating this would be to Henry the next morning. He didn't even try to hide his crime this time, just meant more blood on Henry's hands. He'd failed to protect the kids again. The restaurant had only been open for a few weeks, but William was sure that this would get it to close. Good, if he couldn't have Freddy's, no one would. Whenever a new pizzeria opened, he would be there. But as he sat in his bunker, something else started to linger in William's mind. He had seen something strange. The old withered animatronics, they had been wandering around the building, spurred on by the puppet. It was almost like those old robots were trying to save the kids. Save them? They couldn't, obviously, but still, how were they moving? It was almost like they had been given life somehow. Did he have something to do with that? The following day, the news would report a security guard getting bitten by one of the animatronics during the day shift. Was that bite meant for him? William's curiosity was stronger now than his bloodlust. He had to learn more, but how? There was no way he'd ever be able to get inside another Freddy's pizzeria. Heck, there was practically no way a Freddy's would ever open again. He needed to create something new, something brand new. He needed to create his own pizzeria.
Due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment.
Circus Baby's Pizza World. This would be the place where he could continue his work. No longer just murdering, experimenting. He needed more kids, and he needed them alive. And knowing that he couldn't show his face on the restaurant floor, he needed a way of remotely capturing his victims and preserving them for his work. With that goal in mind, he designed a new breed of animatronic. Their endoskeletons fluid and flexible. He equipped them with sound lures that could mimic voices. They could isolate children. They could incapacitate and contain them with zero direct input from him. It was brilliant. He was brilliant. Far beyond the simple bars and wires of Henry's designs. And the characters he chose for this were uniquely his. His new roster wasn't going to be tainted by Henry's disgusting barnyard bird. Instead, it was back to his characters, his creations. Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, as well as 2 special ones. The first, Ballora, was an homage to the woman who left him. Now she would never leave him again. The second, the titular baby, was designed with his...
Why do you have to give Ballora... I know it's a kid's... It's for kids. It's not for teenagers or adults. You realize that, right? He's trying to make them look... it's just stuck... It's sticking out to me.
Baby in mind, Elizabeth, his youngest child. She would always be Daddy's little girl, the one that listened to him, the one that obeyed until the day that she didn't.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her?
Why is she British? There's nothing wrong with, like, this actor's pretty good as being Elizabeth. Lizzie for short. That's what I'm gonna call her for now. And sorry, Amesy's head is like huge. But anyway, like, was William British, or was the mother British? How did she get British accent? I was just wondering. It's a curious thing in these worlds. Watch me. I'm gonna do this.
The one that listened to him, the one that obeyed until the day that she didn't.
Daddy, she won't you let me play with her? She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me?
The day before Circus Baby's Pizza World opened, she disobeyed. She didn't listen. Left alone with Baby, she got too close. The animatronic ripped in half and swallowed her.
Daddy's girl. Always so loyal to Daddy, but I swear, this has to be a thing. I feel like every girl, like, dads always do everything for little girls. Am I wrong or right? And it's also a mother and son thing. Like, isn't that so weird how that can happen? I feel like it's just a DNA for everyone. I'm gonna ask Daddy for this, if you're a boy. I'm gonna ask Mom for this. It's just it's a thing. I don't know how, but it is. And it's funny how people can't stop asking about it.
Whole, a scared and confused child fading into eternal darkness. By the time Afton found her, it was too late. She was gone. He immediately canceled the launch of Circus Babies under the guise of a gas leak. But wait, as he sat there at the foot of the stage, he noticed that something was different. The eye color of the robot had changed. Baby had been built with blue eyes, but now they were emerald green, the same color as Elizabeth.
Looks better than blue.
Was she in there? Could this all be connected to the free-moving animatronics that he had seen at Freddy's? He had to know more. His mourning turned to excitement. He had to return to where it all started. 1993. Pathetic. This place was pathetic. Henry had clearly tried to reopen one final time with those old original animatronics from so long ago, but William's damage to the brand had been permanent. These things stank of death. They hadn't been washed in decades. But even if they had, nothing could wash away the stink of murder that haunted these halls. One night, then another, then another. William repeatedly snuck into the old broken restaurant to lure the living animatronics to him, one by one dismantling them, robbing them of their endoskeletons. The metal had to be the secret. It had to contain the remnants of life itself. But he had to know for sure. Leaping out of a room that was invisible to the animatronics programming, he dragged the oversized robotic skeletons back to his underground workshop, back to where Circus Baby watched on with glowing, curious eyes. Eyes that somehow felt alive. Not knowing what else to do, William melted the robotic parts down. 5 animatronic endoskeletons reduced down to one silvery puddle of goo. Could he transfer this living metal to his own creations? He had to try. He picked up a syringe and filled it with the molten metal and injected the goo into Funtime Freddy's twisted, wiry endoskeleton. And suddenly the coils came to life. Like snakes writhing in a pile, what had once been cold, lifeless metal moved and jolted on its own. He'd done it! He had unlocked the secret to life itself. Except something was clearly wrong. The movements were erratic. They were violent, angry. Baby didn't act this way. She had been calm, collected. This was clearly something else. Something mindless and frantic. Perhaps by mixing the souls and then portioning them out, he had created incomplete beasts. He would need to keep testing to truly understand it. He needed more of this remnant. As he searched the old pizzeria one more time for any remaining scraps of metal, the ghosts attacked. His past victims come to collect their due, all led by Cassidy. The 5 lined up and blocked the door, and Afton's mind reeled. The scientific implications of this were incredible. Ghosts, real ghosts that he could see, all standing against him. But what could they do? What couldn't they do? He panicked as Cassidy approached. How do you stop something that's already dead? Maybe with the thing that resulted in their death in the first place. He would get into his suit like old times. He would regain his power over them just like the day that they died. He was the genius. He was the one in the suit. He was the one in charge. The spring lock snapped into place. Maybe it was his frantic movements. Maybe it was the leaky, abandoned restaurant. Maybe it was just fate coming to collect its due. He didn't know. The only thing he did know was that his brain was suddenly filled with searing white-hot pain as hundreds of metallic pins and gears stabbed into his body.
Has anyone heard of what the spring lock suit would actually, like, do to you and how it can hurt so badly? Like, it's on TikTok and YouTube. I've seen it before.
From all sides. All he could do was collapse, blood slowly oozing out of the suit and pooling onto the floor around him. It couldn't end like this. It wouldn't end like this. His work was unfinished. Unable to move, his only option was to survive, to live, to keep living. It took days lying in his own blood, but eventually someone found him. A security guard making a normal report. When he saw the animatronics torn apart in the middle of the party room floor, it caused him to file an immediate report of a break-in. An owner would have to come in and claim the damage. And who else would it be other than Henry? Hope jumped in Afton's heart. Henry would see him. They were partners after all. He would be the one to help save him, to get him out of this suit, to relieve him from this tremendous pain. Henry entered the secret room. His eyes fell on Afton sitting there in the pool of red, and Henry, saying nothing, turned and walked away.
This is just to inform all employees that due to budget restrictions, the previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations, including this one. Nothing is being taken out beforehand, so if you left anything inside, then it's your own fault. Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives.
And so there Afton would sit, hanging on for 30 years, trapped behind the walls with an iron will that refused to die. End of this part. I say this part because it's not officially the end of the Afton era just yet, but this just felt like a really solid stopping point. The episode has gone on forever. Okay, so most of this is things that we already knew, stuff that's been established and reestablished time and time again by the games. That said, there are 2 things that I absolutely have to address. The first and biggest is the placement of sister location.
Yeah, I was gonna say of what I probably know about Elizabeth, but I want to hear what he has to say first.
More specifically, Elizabeth's death. To me, evidence in game seems to suggest that it was meant to come before the crying child's death in 1983. The biggest clue to this is that the crying child saw something. Remember what you saw is the phrase that's repeated over and over again by psychic friend Fredbear, aka William Afton speaking through a walkie-talkie in the Fredbear plushie's stomach. But what did he see? Well, I think we can tell based on how the nightmare animatronics are visualized. They have mouths in their stomachs, just like Baby ripping in half at the waist to swallow a kid. There's also the empty girl's room, one presumably left behind by a dead sister. And lastly, it explains why he's scared, and more specifically why Afton wants him scared. He needs his kids to stay away from the animatronics. He doesn't want them getting too close because the last time one of his kids got too close to a robot, his daughter died.
Okay, I know there was a new game theory about sister location because of the new VR and Ruin. I don't remember, but I think I can remember. One of the theories said that Henry was the one that created sister location by accident. He created those guys, and I think when they were going to launch them with William's new like expertise, he died. And then I know that's a theory, and I know that's probably true, but I don't know how that would come in. But the VR theory just came out, so as soon as we finish this timeline, we're going to watch it. So this stream will be pretty long.
That's then why he sets up the nightmares, to scare both Mike and the crying child away from the animatronics from that point forward. That's why books like the Character Encyclopedia outright suggest that we play as the crying child in FNAF 4. That's why he has a nanny cam following the crying child everywhere, so he can keep tabs on his kids when they're out of his sight. He can't let another Elizabeth situation happen. The death of Elizabeth also gives William Afton extra motivation for killing. He's a grieving father. His daughter was taken away from him, so Charlie should die as well. He's lashing out at the world after losing his kids. And again, we know that at least one of his children had to have died prior to Charlie's death, based on the mound of dirt that we see.
It was Elizabeth, but it also makes sense. You see, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. But when you play FNAF 4 in sister location, you look at the animatronics, right? You see the empty room of Elizabeth. But that timeline right there, that part always confuses me. Which came first, Elizabeth or Evan's death? It's just so hard to follow up and figure out which is which and who created what. But it's also too early for him to murder anyway. Like, I think he's probably going to say that. So if you guys have theories, put it in the chat, please, because I'd like to know.
In Midnight Motorist. It also allows circus babies to open and close earlier in the timeline, which is how you wind up with Funtime Foxy appearing as Mangle in the FNAF 2 location.
But that doesn't look like... But how? I don't see it that.
Basically, Elizabeth dying first has everything it needs to fit, except for the most important thing, the murder weapon. Why would Afton be building an animatronic with a giant claw in its stomach so early in the timeline? At this point, he just has no motive. It just doesn't make sense prior to 1983. At this point in the story, he hasn't killed anyone, and we know for a fact that the missing children's incident is 1985. So Elizabeth's death coming before any of those events just doesn't work. Hence why I placed it where I did in the narrative timeline.
It makes sense where he placed it, because I wouldn't know either. But at the same time, we know Elizabeth's death came first, but we don't know where it came from. We don't know the amount of information we need to solve that type of timeline for Elizabeth. And that might change the timeline a little bit moving forward, but it would also make sense. You get what I'm saying? Because I know what I'm saying.
Afton's death here is also a bit tricky. We know that he returned to the FNAF 1 location to break down the original animatronics in order to harvest their remnant. We know that he melts down 5 things to become one thing. Candy Cadet makes that very clear.
Yeah.
So the 5 things are the 5 endoskeletons from the various animatronics. That would be totally fine if it weren't for one huge problem. On his 5th visit to the pizzeria, Afton gets spring locked. So either the 5 becoming 1 starts in 1993, but then finishes 30 years later when he reemerges from the wall to add the last endoskeleton to his pile, or he's had himself some reason to return to the original location after harvesting all the stuff that he can. It's not ideal, but it's the one angle that makes the most sense.
It does make more sense. It does make more sense. If you think it doesn't, I don't know.
And with that, this next chapter comes to a close, thereby leaving us with 5 more games to cover and another 40+ years of Fazbear history.
Return to the global phenomenon that has critics raving. Mango!
Hello, Internet! Welcome to
Game Theory!
And page 20 of our final FNAF timeline. This is getting ridiculous. Last time we covered William Afton's rise as a serial killer. How the loss
If you
of his
just joined the live stream, just wanted to let you know, hi, I'm the Captain Skull. This is my live streaming channel, soon to be my VODs channel, because I'll be a Twitch streamer pretty soon. Somewhere in 2024 or 2025. Anyway, I have a main channel, the Captain Skull, and a reaction channel, which this would go in my reaction channel as an edited version. It's in the description down below. You can go follow it if you want to. Go subscribe to me and join my Discord, because if we get to past 30 members in my Discord server, we're gonna have some fun video gaming events, and I know you guys probably enjoy my videos. So subscribe and enjoy with the live stream and chat, please. I would like to see people chat. But if you're focused as well, then cool.
1983 caused him to make one fateful promise that would ultimately serve as his driving force for decades. I will put you back together. Fueled by grief and obsession, Afton would lose himself in work and drinks. One night in a fit of rage, he lashes out against Henry's young daughter, Charlie, his first murder. This moment becomes the first domino to fall in a long sequence of events that ultimately destroys William's life and the lives of those around him. That one murder gives Afton a taste for blood, resulting in the deaths of 10 more children across 2 different pizzerias. Those children go on to possess animatronics, giving Afton his first exposure to Remnant and the potential solution for bringing his son back to life. The need to learn more about this miraculous power leads him to produce the Funtime animatronics, as well as their capture devices, robots designed to bring kids to him for experimentation and collection of more Remnant. Except there was one thing that he didn't account for: his daughter's curiosity. He made the robots too appealing, and it would cost him Elizabeth's life. Now with 2 children to put back together, Afton was more desperate and crazed than ever, returning to defunct pizzerias to steal the possessed metal still living inside their
Michael.
walls.
He would go even
didn't account
crazier.
for, though, were the ghosts, forcing him to pay for the sins of his past. When last we left him, William was spring-locked, bleeding to death behind a secret wall. Gone, but certainly not forgotten, as we're about to see in today's video. Today, we're finishing up Chapter 2 of our story, wrapping up the Afton era. Over the next 6 pages, we switch our focus to the other main character of the franchise, Mike, a young boy dealing with the fallout of a stupid childhood decision with tragic consequences. A young man whose life is best described as collateral damage, caught in the blast radius of William's whirlwind of destruction. Now, before we begin, let me just rip off the band-aid now. We won't be finishing the timeline today. I know, I'm sorry, I wanted to, but covering FNAF VR, William still wasn't back. Weird. Michael knew his father sometimes traveled for work, disappearing for days on end, but usually there was some sort of notice, a phone call, a post-it, something. It's not like Michael and his father were close, far from it, but as a household of 2 suffering men coping with years of tragedy and loss, there was at least some element of communication between the 2 of them. They were united by a name and a shared pain. This time though, things felt different. William had left nothing. His absence was longer. There were no check-ins, no updates, just silence. Something had happened. If there was one thing Michael knew about his father, it was that he had contingencies, safety checks, backup plans. His father was a careful and guarded man. He held his cards close to his chest, and as such, William had prepared him in the event that something like this ever happened. Normally, his father kept his home office locked, but in the event of an unexpected, prolonged absence, Michael had been instructed to enter his father's office and look behind an empty set of shelves mounted in the corner of the room. Rolling his eyes, Michael entered the office. He never fully understood how William was able to spend so many hours of his days locked up in here. There was just nothing to do. Most of this place was empty. He dragged himself over to the shelf in the corner, expecting to find an emergency contact list, a family safety deposit box. But what he actually found there was completely unexpected.
Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be.
The shelf swung open and revealed a giant industrial elevator, one that led straight down.
Okay, I know this is just a theory. Yes, it's probably not even a bunker anymore, because we know it, because I watched one of his latest theories on the ruin, and we know that it was a it was a not ruined per se. It's a more of a actual place where people worked, because we saw people work there in the game. Yes, I haven't played the game, but like on stream or recording, but I have it. We will do FNAF soon. I'm moving my plushie somewhere. It's next to my mouse now. Just because it won't fit on my thing. Okay.
Underground bunker. But that was impossible. Hidden inside his childhood home was a secret entrance to an enormous underground science lair? It didn't make any sense. Seriously, it didn't make any sense. And yet, here it was, mapped directly underneath the floor plan of the house that he'd grown up in, lost his brother in, been tortured in. Michael thought that he'd known his father, a prideful, sad,
I guess you
angry
didn't,
man
child.
with petty, everyday problems, but clearly, he'd been living with a stranger this entire time. His father had secrets. Suddenly, the days of William being locked inside of his office made sense. He'd been here the entire time. Where was here, though? Was this Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals? The Circus Baby restaurant always did seem to be a deeply personal project for Father. A failure of his that cut unusually deep, especially after that first location had to be closed prematurely due to the gas leaks. After that day, Father really did seem to change, to lose himself even more in his work. Clearly, the entrance he had found was some sort of secret back way into the facility, one that required crawling through vents to navigate. His father had been working here, but in secret. Why? And that's when he found her.
When
at
your
the end of the
back
facility,
hurt, I would hate
Circus
that.
Baby, his father's pride and joy. Except something was different about her. She wasn't like the others. The way she talked, the stories she told. This wasn't just a robot. She was alive somehow. And not only was she alive, she also felt familiar.
There is something bad inside of me. I'm broken. I can't be fixed. Will you help me?
Was this his sister? William's baby girl? But how? Why? What was this place? He dug around some old files and found blueprints outlining the features of these animatronics. Storage containers, voice mimicking, parental tracking. And was that a child in Freddy's stomach? Was his father collecting and experimenting on kids? Were all the rumors that he'd heard throughout his past actually true? That the animatronics came to life at night? That there were murders done in all the pizzerias? That his father had somehow been the prime suspect in all of it? Suddenly,
Imagine.
Michael's mind flashed back to his persistent nightmares throughout his childhood. Had he been experimented on too? Tears stung in his eyes as anger, fear, and confusion filled his body. His father's secrets were pouring out. William wasn't just a lame, overworked father. He was a monster, toying with life itself. Suddenly, everything clicked. He frantically looked around the room, blinking human heads on poles staring back at him. Green eyes, his sister. Blue eyes, his brother. Closed eyes, his mom. All just staring expectantly. These were meant to be human. William was working down here trying to make believable humans, literally rebuilding the family that they had both lost. The small little girl robots with their British accents roaming the hallways of this underground facility suddenly took on a whole new context.
That does not sound British. Oh,
Were
never
those
mind.
meant to be his sister? A replacement for her? A clone? Was William building clones of his sister? They seemed to know him, after all, to react to his presence.
They were all there.
Oh, that's
didn't
loud.
recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you.
He always did have a bit of a resemblance to his father. Michael's mind reeled as the reality of his world crumbled to dust. No, he had to get them out of there. If this really was his sister, heck, if any of these things were human, souls, whatever remnant of the humans that they once were, they needed to be rescued.
They always put us back inside. There's nowhere for us to hide here.
Led by the voice of Circus Baby, he marched through the now empty halls of the Funtime Auditorium. He would lead them. He would protect them. And finally, he would be able to forgive himself for the killing of his brother so many years.
Coming in. The all-new Pizza Hut 7.
Give me a second.
You are in the scooping room now. The scooper only hurts for a moment.
Scooper? That violent extraction arm? Michael had seen that one in the pile of blueprints. Something about heat rendering the magical silver metal inside useless. In reality, prior to getting himself spring-locked and put behind the wall, William's methods had become increasingly sophisticated, with a mechanized arm that could infuse new bodies with a soul. William could finally give and take away life. The only thing he needed were the bodies. But William wasn't the only one looking for bodies, as Michael was about to learn.
But if we looked like you, then we could hide. If we...
Guys, say hi to my mom. Come in the microphone. No, come on.
I don't want to. Am I going to be on camera?
Yes. You've been in my videos before.
Where?
Talking microphone.
Hola. Oh, it's a delay.
No, I'm looking at chat.
Oh. Who are you on with?
No one.
Oh. But you're live.
I know.
Oh. All right. I gotta go. My back hurts.
Okay, bye. Is it my mom sweet or what? I love my mom. Alright, let's
like
keep
you.
getting back to it.
Then we would have somewhere to go.
Michael was going to be the hero to help these animatronics, all right. He was going to help the haunted tubes and wires of these animatronics escape, just not in the way that he anticipated. His sister had lied to him. Another game of pretend. The scooper plowed forward, digging its extraction arm into his body. As he heard his bones ripping through his flesh, Michael blacked out.
But something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not.
For the next several months, Michael's life was not his own. He was forced to comply with the tangle of wires and spirits that lived inside of him. His body felt like an overfilled balloon begging to burst as day by day, week by week, his flesh began to sag and discolor. He was a walking, talking, rotting corpse, alive, but wishing he wasn't. He was a puppet, a walking shell. And while he did his best to conceal his fate, there was only so much a man filled with robot spaghetti could do. The entity in his innards would eventually leave, but by that point, the damage had been done. His decaying flesh stank, turning him into a literal purple guy. But still, even with no bones, even with rotting purple flesh and begging to die, Michael continued to live. That silvery metal remnant injected by the scooper meant that he couldn't die. His anger also refused to die. What he had seen down there in his sister's location had rocked him to his core. His father had killed and captured dozens. His experiments had killed his sister and then tortured him throughout all his childhood. He was actively trying to build human replicants. He didn't know where his father was, but Michael knew that he was out there somewhere.
I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you.
Michael had to correct for the sins of his father. He had to make things right. Michael would burn Fazbear Entertainment to the ground. I mean, what else could you do when your skin was permanently purple? Michael's strategy was simple. He would apply for night security guard positions at the old defunct pizzeria locations. That way, no one ever had to see him or smell him during his shift. And all these old, shuttered locations did need guards. Teenage vandals and squatters were always looking to get inside these abandoned buildings, and yet no one ever really wanted to work an overnight graveyard shift unless they were practically out of options. Enter Mike. One by one, he would take on the job of security guard, changing his name each time to ensure that no one was able to follow his paper trail. Once inside, he could tamper with the animatronics and figure out how they worked, writing about his experiences in his security logbook. While there, he would listen to the old tapes where upper management awkwardly welcomed new recruits to their summer jobs, even though he was working there nowhere near the summer months. He heard the gory details of his father's franchise from the outsiders looking in, confused and afraid about what was happening in the walls around them. Sometimes he would see his brother in the form of the Golden Freddy suit. It's me appearing on the walls around him. Except now, there was something else there. He was no longer
Cassidy.
alone. Another angrier presence was also in the
Sorry,
suit,
I want
as
to
if
show
two
you
spirits were forced
eating,
to share the
it's
same
just
body.
weird.
And Golden Freddy would attack him now. It was aggressive. Its vengeance wanted to lash out at anyone with the Afton name, anyone who wore a security guard outfit. Over time, Mike worked his way through the old restaurants, the original pizzeria, the bigger, better Freddy Fazbear's. He spent weeks there looking for clues as to his father's whereabouts.
I don't know how I can keep
Each time at the end of his
slouching,
week's
but I
shift, he would then set the location on fire. Remnant can't survive high temperatures after all. So burning away whatever spirit-laden animatronics that still existed inside seemed like a winning strategy. All this revisiting of his past, though, was causing the nightmares to begin again. Hallucinations that brought him back to his childhood. The guilt around killing his brother. His dreams were oddly mixed with the shrill phone calls of the security guard. once, but it would all be worth it in the end. The goal was to eventually stumble across the one location, the one job that would finally reunite him with his father. Little did Mike know that that day would come sooner than he expected. 2023, an advertisement came across Mike's TV.
It's 2024 now.
Frights, a new horror attraction inspired by the awful crimes that occurred around Freddy Fazbear's Pizza so many years ago. It made Mike sick. People looking to make a quick buck off the tragedy of others, off his own family. This wasn't a joke or entertainment. Regardless, he had to be a part of it. If this team was combing through his family's history, they might stumble across something that could be useful. And if his father was truly still alive as he suspected, there would be no way that he wouldn't show up here. Maybe finally, this could be the final chapter in his family's marathon of tragedy. Mike applied for the job and was immediately handed the keys. Years of doing this had taught him that security guards rarely receive thorough security checks. They also liked how creepy Mike looked. They thought it was a costume, on theme for the job. What little they knew.
Hey, glad you came back for another night. I promise it'll be a lot more interesting this time.
For weeks, there was nothing. But just as Mike considered giving up, he received the call that he'd been waiting for years.
You're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one.
Could this finally be him? Sure enough, there he was. William inside his iconic golden Bonnie Springlock suit, only now it was green and decaying with age. And there they were, a small family of
really
broken men
gross
finally reunited. It's been a long time, Dad. Mike had always struggled with the phantoms of his past haunting him, but now all the animatronics he'd encountered over the past months, hopping from pizzeria to pizzeria, suddenly sprang to life. Their burned faces haunting him as he tried to keep track of his father on the cameras. It would seem that William's mere presence had put the spirits on high alert. Ultimately, they were harmless, more annoying than anything else, but there was one that felt different from the others, one that was more than just a mere phantom, the security puppet. If he looked at the cameras at just the right moment, he could see it floating there through the halls. He could even see its reflection in the water pool down the ground.
It's alive! It's alive!
There on a mission. While he was dealing with Springtrap, Michael assumed that this one was likely dealing with the spirits of this place, finally setting them to rest. Hopefully this means a happier day for all of us, Mike thought to himself. And in that moment, he felt the air around him release, like pressure being let out of a bottle. The building sighed, as if 5 spirits had finally been allowed to move on. He had the sense that his brother was a part of them. He rigged the wiring inside the building to misfire, and the dry, desiccated walls erupted in flames. It is finished. Except, it was
We
not.
wish.
Somehow, through sheer force of will, Afton remained. He had survived, and Mike would need to find a new way of finishing off his father. Luckily, the solution would present itself later that year. Not from Mike, but from another victim that had been left in his father's wake.
We're talking about becoming a Fazbear Entertainment franchisee. Restaurant ownership and management. Something almost anyone can do with a limited degree of success. You are now the face of the newly rebranded Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Fazbear Entertainment as a brand had been closed for years. William had been stuck in a suit and a wall. The only person who legally could bring the franchise back was Henry, but he'd largely pulled out of the franchise around the time of his father's disappearance. Something was up. Surely this had to be some kind of a trick, right? Mike, doing what he did best, applied for a franchise and immediately got the job. There was just one thing out of the ordinary. Paragraph 4.
If you are playing this tape, that means that not only have you been checking outside at the end of every shift, as you were instructed to do, but also that you have found something that meets the criteria of your special obligations under paragraph 4.
No employment contract he'd ever signed required him to keep special lookout for independently moving animatronics outside the restaurant. Now he knew something was up here. Henry was luring them all back. Rather than trying to go to them, like Mike had done for years, Henry was doing the opposite. He was putting them all under the same roof. He was finishing them off for good. Mike knew this wasn't meant to be a restaurant. It was meant to be a prison, a containment vessel, a locked box meant to trap them all in so they could finally end the madness. It took a few nights, but eventually everyone was there. His father, the puppet, the robot spaghetti that had once violated his body, and his sister, now hopelessly devoted to serve the man that had once gotten her killed. It was time. He had been instructed to seal the doors and leave, but while he locked everything down, he didn't move on. If this was truly meant to be the end, if the remnant needed to be washed away, he needed to be a part of that.
This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace and perhaps more waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
And with that, it was over. The Afton legacy died with all of them trapped inside of a literal box. As the flames danced around the office, Mike, for the first time in decades, was happy. But William wasn't gone yet. Although the darkest pit of hell was open and waiting for him, something or someone wouldn't allow him to move on. Instead, he found himself locked in moments from
this is what made me mad when I first found out about this. Like, we get it. The animatronics want William to die so they can be free, but they can't. They're being forced to punish him, and they're keeping him alive, but Cassidy wants him to feel the pain that they felt. I don't know Cassidy's pronouns, but it's dumb because then the animatronics can't move on either because they're punishing him by painting him, and they want him dead. It's like, you have no place. Like, let the devil take care of him. Come on. I'm not gonna... Okay.
Past the pizzeria, his son's room, his underground bunker. It was as if his brain's neurons were all firing at once, overloaded, mixing and matching all his biggest fears, regrets, failures. What was this place? How did he get here? He called out into the silence. Then they started coming. Without warning, animatronics, both new and old, began to jump out at him, bite him, rip him limb from limb. The pain was immeasurable. Make it stop. Make it stop. William, for the first time, longed for death, an end to this torture. Just as it felt like he couldn't take it anymore, everything was quiet again. It was as if the world had been reset. There was a brief moment of quiet, and then the onslaught began again. Dozens of faces from his past all focused on him. A waking nightmare that he couldn't escape from. More pain, more ripping. It was his own personal hell, but why? Why couldn't he just die? And then he saw them, a group of characters he never thought he'd see again. Those janky, stolen characters that had started everything. The mediocre melodies. It had all started to go wrong once they showed up, once Henry had made them. But mixed in with their obnoxious southern drawls, William heard something else. It was barely a whisper, but he could just make out the words.
He tried to release you. He tried to release us. But I'm not gonna let that happen. I will hold you here. I will keep you here.
I can hear it.
No matter how many times they burn us.
That voice. He knew that voice, but from where?
Greetings from the fire, and from the one you should not have killed.
The one he shouldn't have killed. William thought back. He'd done a lot of awful things, but there was always the one that stood out. Not Charlie, his drunken act of revenge. Not Susie, his first true murder, no. Instead, it was the one that he had lost control with. The one that he had broken beyond repair for no good reason other than because he could. The one that he'd stuffed inside the golden bear that his partner used to wear. Cassidy. They were back, and now they were trying to punish him, to make him suffer like he'd made them suffer. It was almost like William and Cassidy's souls had been locked together, fused by a collective rage and spite, each refusing to move on. But while Cassidy was so focused on taking revenge, they actually did the one thing that would be the downfall for so many others. They kept William alive.
Yeah.
Even though fire should have destroyed
That's
the
what I'm
remnant that was
saying.
coursing through his being, Cassidy kept William breathing, paving the way for his escape. William's will was so strong, his soul so powerful that he managed to put a part of himself inside the circuitry that housed the spring-locked suit. And there, his consciousness lay, inside a single circuit board, waiting for someone to find him and set him free. A person that no one would suspect. Okay, so a bit of a shorter chunk, but an important one as we shift perspectives to Mike and tell his side of the story. And with FNAF VR, AR, and Security Breach having so much to explain, I didn't want to rush through
He's
things
gonna
by
have to
trying to cram
redo
it all
this
in
entire
here. Don't worry,
timeline.
I know you've all been patient. The final...
I feel like at some point Scott is gonna reveal the entire timeline and the story, so we don't have to figure it out ourselves.
video is happening on March 25th. That is locked. It is getting ready to go. Trust me, I want this thing to be over and done with as much as you. I am not just stretching it out for the views. But before we wrap up for the day, I did want to talk about the big Orville elephant in the room, Mike's quest for revenge. You might have noticed that I was vague about the dates, and there's a good reason for that. I don't know them. There is no good way for me to make them fit in. Here's what I do know. We know with a high amount of certainty that Michael Afton is the character that we play as up until Ultimate Custom Night. Mike Schmidt and Fritz Smith, the security guards for FNAF 1 and FNAF 2 respectively, get fired for, quote, tampering with the animatronics and odor. So weird connection between the two of them, right? But now, look at the phantom animatronics that are haunting us in FNAF 3. They use models from both FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, meaning whoever is sitting in that security guard chair Fazbear Frights, they have to have seen both locations and their animatronics. And that's not all. Their designs are burnt. It's a weird detail in the game, and it's something that the character encyclopedia repeatedly calls attention to. The burned texture for these phantom animatronics. Why is that so unusual though? Fazbear Frights is the first time in the franchise that we hear about anything burning down. From that point on in the story, it's like the characters turn pyro and are suddenly setting fires left and right. But for the first 3 games, nothing ever catches fire. The animatronics are just moved or repurposed in some way. So when did they burn? And why would our security guards see them as being burned? Someone has to have been going location to location, setting these places on fire, purging the sins of the past. We know we're definitely playing as Mike and Sister Location in FNAF 6 based on the in-game dialogue. And in FNAF 4, there's an Easter egg where we can hear the phone call from Night 1 of FNAF 1, meaning that whoever's in that bedroom has heard the recording as a security guard. We also know that Mike has seen the nightmare animatronics based on his drawings in the security logbook. So overall, there is solid evidence that connects all of FNAFs 1 through 6. You'll also notice how the character encyclopedia doesn't have a page for Mike Afton. This thing has a page for Chocolate Bunny Bonnie, but not Michael. Some tells me they don't want us to confirm how many games he's been in, because that would confirm too much of the theory. In short, this gives us an incredibly compelling and complete narrative. Mike as our protagonist, and William, his father, as our antagonist. Mike accidentally kills his brother in Fredbear's mouth, which begins our story and sets William down his pathway of destruction. Mike is then haunted by the guilt of his past and is looking to make things right across the rest of the games. In Sister Location, he learns what his father's been up to and realizes what he has to do to correct it. After failing to finish the job in FNAF 3, he ultimately helps Henry end it all in FNAF 6. It is great. It is a clean narrative. There is just one problem: timing. Mike's quest can't really start until he's been down to Sister Location, seen Baby, and gotten himself scooped. That's when he finds out about Afton's secret life. It's also when he's gonna start to smell, because, you know, he's a walking, talking, rotting corpse. And we know that he's not going down into the bunker until the Funtime animatronics have been made, Freddy's has been closed, and Afton is out of the picture. That all should be happening post-1993, after William is sealed behind a wall. But that then presents us with a few problems. Afton has already dismantled the original animatronics as we see in the FNAF 3 minigames. How are those things getting burned if they're already deconstructed? But more importantly, we see FNAF 2 paychecks with the date 1987. That is way earlier than I think it can be. To be fair, Fritz Smith's pink slip on night 7 doesn't have a date, but it's a bit weird to say that the first few nights are in 1987 and then employee number 3 is hired on years after the restaurant closes. Anyway, just wanted to call that out because I don't have a solid answer for it, and I'd love to see your comments down below. And with that, my friends, this chapter comes to...
Alright, we're going on to the last one of the theory. And I know a lot of people have told me that this one makes them mad, but I'm gonna tell you my opinions, and then I will do a recording tomorrow of the newest game theory, just because I'm too tired to do it now. So let's finish this. And it's already 4:30.
Sometimes it takes a different approach to imagine your future differently. With Capella University's game-changing FlexPath format,
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, and the final part of my FNAF timeline, where today we're bringing our story to a close by talking about the most complicated and controversial part of the timeline, the part that I've been dreading most of all, the end. The moment when we're finally forced to come to some definitive and difficult answers trying to explain what the heck we were watching in Security Breach. The last 2 episodes have been about death. The death of Afton's family, the deaths of multiple children, the death of the franchise itself as Mike and Henry figuratively and literally burn it all down. Today's episode, though, and the current end of this franchise, is instead all about rebirth. The return of old characters in new forms, and the controversial rebirth of a franchise entering the next era of its story. But before we hop into the timeline, due to scheduling conflicts, I won't be able to have any live talk. Fazbear Entertainment was dead.
There is no need for you to return to work next week, as Fazbear Entertainment is no longer a corporate entity.
All debts had been paid, all assets redistributed. The company was outright dissolved. Even the memories of the horrors that had happened there started to fade away in the public consciousness. The people were gone too. William was dead. Henry was gone. A whole generation of young Emilys and Aftons had lost their lives to the horrors of the pizzeria. All of them collateral damage to the man in the bunny suit. Everyone the company had ever touched was dead and gone. Well, all except one.
Pay your child support, you deadbeat! I'm keeping the diamond ring. I also set the house on fire!
Yeah, because here's the thing. I know a lot of people said that Clara Afton, I can't talk anymore, is dead. Died in a car crash. Or something. But we never actually got the situation of her backstory of all of this. And also, she isn't British now that I think about it, because we just heard her through the TV show. Or I may be wrong, I'm not sure. But she left the house without even bringing her son, Michael, away from William. So that's kind of her fault. And people just thought she died. But we don't have evidence that she died. She just left the house. So, of course, she is alive. For sure.
Clara Afton. She'd been there in the early days, back when things with William were good. They'd had the perfect home, a thriving business, the ideal family. But shortly after their youngest son died, things started to change. William had become distant, lost in his work, obsessive. She had watched him change from this irritatingly brilliant man that she had fallen in love with to a drunken monster struggling to hold himself together. And despite her trying to reach out to him in those desperate days, he was just too far gone.
Yeah, because he wouldn't kill her. He wouldn't kill her if he was drunk. He didn't even abuse... Okay, he did abuse Michael with the nightmares, but he never hurt him, like, physically. So, she just left. That's what I believe. Because this isn't her. No, I don't believe it.
Admit it, you wanted to let me in.
For her sake, she had to leave the relationship, and from there she largely faded into obscurity. A mystery from William's past, a footnote in his history, and that was fine for her. She wanted to leave that part of her life behind. She tried to move forward, never wanting to hear the name Freddy Fazbear again, a time defined by mistakes and broken promises. But then, the paperwork started to arrive. As Fazbear Entertainment began to close as a corporate entity, suddenly her mail was flooded with notifications, requests, obligations. She had been there since the beginning, helping William in the early days of his business, and now, as a shareholder and sole living member of the Afton family, all copyrights and trademarks of both Afton Robotics and Fazbear Entertainment passed on to her. Memories of this past life that she had long left behind. Looking at the blueprints, the contracts, the memos, she felt old wounds begin to reopen. The regrets of a happy family that had been torn away from her. William had always been brilliant. That's what had attracted her to him in the first place. But he'd also been too blinded by obsession and pride. He was too jealous, too petty, too unable to actually see a bigger picture. But now, holding the paperwork that contained decades of heartbreak and trauma, she realized it was her turn. She was holding the power. This was her chance. And one thought resonated in her head. I will put them back together. I will put them all back together. She would be the one to rebuild this family. To rebuild the pieces of that shattered life. To reclaim the kids that Fazbear had stolen from her. But how? Looking at William's work now laid out before her, she knew that he had been on something.
She's becoming a murderer as well.
Robotic humanoids, digital conscience transference. The pieces were all in place. They were just scattered, fragmented. It was almost like there were too many ideas going in too many different directions. It was such an important idea that she reiterated that point to herself. There were too many ideas going in too many different directions. That said, there had to be a way to save it all. She just needed to put it all back together. But how? To rebuild her family, she would first need to rebuild the franchise that had stolen them away from her. With ownership over the characters, their licenses, the technology patents, and the Fazbear name, she converted the corporation back to an LLC, a structure for smaller businesses that are usually family-owned. The irony was fitting. From there, she would need Remnant, and lots of it. Remnant was the key. Clearly, in the later years of his life, William had been using Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals as a remnant farm, sending robots to kids' birthday parties in the hopes of nabbing bits of the stuff here and there. But clearly, it wasn't enough. He had, what, like 4, maybe 5 animatronics going out every week? No. It was a decent idea, but to get the remnant they required, it needed scale. Dozens, hundreds of animatronics all out there, all gathering remnant from unsuspecting customers. But to do that would require help, something William would never ask for. William had kept everything in-house. His obsession with control limited him. Clara, though, she wasn't nearly that precious. A plan like this required partners, people outside of Fazbear to do the heavy lifting. So she contacted a mid-sized delivery company, DLZ Shipping Solutions, to help build replicas of all the original animatronics. And with meal delivery apps being all the rage, why not an animatronic delivery service? Order one to celebrate your birthday, your Halloween party. How about a 4th of July picnic? We'll invite Liberty Chica and 4th of July Freddy on over. She would make sure that they made skins for every occasion. Chocolate Bonnies for Easter, Shamrock Freddy's for St. Patrick's Day, Dia de los Muertos Chicas. And thus, the Fazbear Funtime service was born.
That's right.
I played that
With
app.
the Fazbear Funtime service, you'll never be alone again. You'll always have someone
Hi,
watching
Markiplier.
Was it ridiculous? Absolutely. Was it a sellout? No doubt. It was exactly the sort of thing that William would have hated, but it needed to be done to get enough remnants.
also a
Normally,
popular
the
game.
novelty of ordering an animatronic wore off after like what, 1, maybe 2 times? But with new skins for new holidays, suddenly you had yourself an animatronic perfect for every occasion.
Girl
It would
boss
keep people
power.
hooked. It would keep them ordering the latest and greatest that Fazbear Entertainment LLC had to offer, and all the while they'd be collecting and returning the remnant back to her. In a word, it was brilliant. There was just one problem with it. No one trusted the Fazbear name. The company's brand was still mud in the public eye. No one would want to hire animatronics from the restaurant franchise known for murdering
I would.
children. Nothing kills a party quite like the threat of death, you know. So she needed to find a way to discredit the stories that had come before. She needed to win back the public's affections, reactivate some nostalgia for the spooky stories of their childhoods. She needed a game. Multiple games, in fact.
They lied to us. They lied to all of us. They told us that the whole point of this VR game was to undo the bad PR done by a rogue indie game developer. But that's not true at all. Those indie games were designed to conceal and make light of what happened. This isn't just an attempt to rebrand. It's an elaborate cover-up.
Struggling game developers were a dime a dozen online, most working on their magnum opus between shifts at the Dollar General. So she found one. Steve just picked him out of obscurity. The right mix of desperate and doofus, willing to say and
Okay,
do
can we just
anything
say again, Scott's lore and ideas into his Freddy Fazbear like game and OCs is just brilliant right here. It's absolutely brilliant, and him being part of the game, pretending to cover it up like it's an actual real thing that happened in real life. I think that's honestly pretty cool.
for a couple extra bucks, and he fell right in line, as expected, delivering stupid little things with dumb generic names like Mangle's Quest, Balloon Boy's Air Adventure, Five Nights at Freddy's. Bad gameplay with even worse graphics, but hey, they got the job done. People were suddenly talking about the clues inside of these things, searching for the
like
hidden
we're
lore.
doing
They
now,
were
but
actively making
here's the
jokes.
thing, it didn't even, this thing didn't even happen in real life, yet he made it into the story. That is pretty cool.
About dead kids at pizzerias. Her husband's twisted history of serial murder had suddenly been reduced to a mere Nancy Drew mystery to be solved. The plan had worked. Freddy Fazbear's was suddenly more popular
You
than
think?
ever.
There's a
Things
movie.
were going shockingly well. Her takeover and reboot of the franchise was full and complete. Suddenly infused with cash, she built the largest, most ambitious project yet, the Mega Pizzaplex.
Mega
William had always been so
Pizzaplex.
visionary, but always thought so small scale. He was careful to a fault. Not her, though. She knew that this latest project needed to be big. It needed to be flashy. It needed to be a palace for children. A place that got people talking and checking out the latest in Fazbear products. So with a steady supply of remnant flowing in, it was finally time. The stage was set. It was time to get to her real goal, literally rebuilding a family. March 2035. The first was obvious. The crying child, her little boy, the one that was the first to get ripped away from her. She'd seen down in his bunker that William had gotten very close to replicating artificial humans using animatronic technology, and so that's exactly what she would do. Rebuild her boy from the ground up using robotic parts. His shaggy brown hair, his favorite striped shirt, even down to small details that no one would notice, like the band-aid on his left knee. William's research had even found ways of making animatronics that could bleed and process
really
food,
gross,
making them virtually
very smart.
indistinguishable from a typical human. He would never have any idea of what he actually was unless he was explicitly told. The only things that could possibly ruin the illusion were any overrides.
I know this theory with Gregory being a robot. People got mad about this, but I honestly agree with this theory. This theory is right. I believe Gregory is a robot, and I'm explaining this now. The reason I think Gregory is a robot is because every time you're in the game, you're getting close to Vanessa, even if you're in, like, Freddy Fazbear, you can see, like, Vanny glitching your eyes. How is that? I feel like if you're being a child and you're looking through Freddy's eyes, but you're still looking through your eyes, it would still glitch for you. In case Freddy couldn't even see Vanny, yet we saw it because we were in Freddy. Like, come on. And literally, he is in the bottom corner where he explained this stuff, saying the band-aid on his foot, his leg, basically, from the book. It literally says that is the crying child. And if you don't look, Gregory has a striped shirt, has brown eyes, and literally has the band-aid on his leg. And also, in the poster room, by the way, like, I know for sure he's going to talk about it, but the poster room and, like, all the video games, it says GGY, Gregory. She's trying to keep the name different from Evan. And he would be playing the video games. And he was also living in the pizzeria. But he pretended to be an orphan, but he wasn't. Also, like, the animatronics trying to keep getting him, they're probably trying to bring him back down to wherever someone is controlling him for. Like, I don't get why people got mad at that, because those little details in there, that can say enough. And on the posted room, it's literally where Gregory would go, and it says 100111. Apparently, he was speaking, and then he started drawing scribbly stuff. Like, come on, but then something happened. I don't know. I feel like this theory is correct, but I know for sure Clara isn't doing this because she would have died. Obviously, she would be pretty old. It has to be someone else, but to be fair, we don't know who anyone else is. So that's why I really agree with this theory. Also, I just pointed out facts. If you're confused by this, I don't know how people got mad at this theory. Maybe people just didn't want to believe it. Maybe they wanted someone else to figure it out, like Scott would, like, maybe put it out. But no, I actually believe that he's probably a robot. Like, come on. Don't you think it's odd? Or is it just me? I swear it's just me that probably believes this theory. Because I know people got mad at him for it. But when I saw this theory, I believed it as well. Because I looked at the game as well. And it makes sense. I don't know.
His internal systems. If something were to, say, interfere with the cameras that he had in his eyes, or cause some sort of a core reboot to his hard drive, or x-ray his metallic bones, then yeah, he would be exposed. But otherwise, to the outside world, he was just your typical, normal human boy. She worked down in the bowels of the Pizzaplex, giving him life, but it was one thing to build him, it was another to help him remember his identity. He died so young, so early in their history, that there was no preserved memories for him. No documentation that she could just download into his digital brain. So bit by bit, she trained him, forcing him to remember who he was. In a corner of the room, she even made a makeshift dinner table.
Yeah, that was also there. That was also there. But we know that the Aftons don't have any family members, right? Like, I know there's theories out there saying, oh, Michael had another brother. No, he doesn't. People just do that in the Gacha series and stuff. Which is cool, by the way. I like how they think outside, but I know they don't have another brother, because otherwise they would be talking about it. and the Emilys and stuff. So I don't know who's doing this, but I know it's not Claire for sure, but I get why he put that theory out there. Because this is probably one of the first hardest ones to fit, besides the Elizabeth death.
Of their happier days, the family recreated 2 brothers, a sister, a father, and the mother at the head of the table. The one in charge, the one in command, the one bringing all of this to fruition. But his progress was admittedly slower than she would have liked. At first, he could only communicate through simple ones and zeros, then rudimentary drawings and crude letters. But bit by bit, images of his past life started to come through. Balloons, colors, houses, bears and faces, birthday parties, all for me. Gregory was alive. As the robot boy embraced her, she felt a warmth that she hadn't in decades. This was the joy that she'd been working towards. This was what it was all for. Her son, back in her arms again. The plan was working. She had to keep going. Next was William. If the family was truly going to be put together, she would need him. And she knew exactly where he was, in the ruins of that old Freddy Fazbear's pizza place where Henry had trapped him. In fact, that's specifically why she insisted on building the pizzaplex there over the sinkhole. It was the best place to hide what her true intentions were with the entire operation. Digging through the wreckage, she found him. He was right where she thought he'd be. Seeing the putrid shell of the Springtrap suit, though, was not something she was prepared for. The rotting corpse of William Afton was disgusting. Scorched flesh fused into the fur lining, hollow black sockets where eyes once were. A smell that reeked of burned carbon and bloody iron. He was no longer flesh. It was just the tangled sinews of a creature that was once called human. How far this brilliant man had fallen. It was clear that her work was cut out for her on this one. Afton was practically lifeless. The man may not have been able to die, but he was about as close as you could come. And his body would need a lot of reconstruction. Replacement arms and endoskeleton reinforcements were the top priority. Maybe pulled from their new line of glam rock animatronics. She'd have to see if they had any spare Bonnie parts lying around that they could steal. In the meantime, though, she threw the husk that was once her husband into a life support pod infused with aerosolized remnant to help keep him stable. But more important than recovering his body was recovering his mind. In his current state, he was comatose, an empty shell. Severe brain damage starts at temperatures over 108 degrees Fahrenheit. 42 degrees Celsius, and years of repeated fires had burned his brain to goo. Gone was the brilliant, frustrating mind that had drawn her to him in the first place. But she had a plan. Unlike her darling boy Gregory, Afton had found ways to record his consciousness. Fundamentally, the brain is only a series of electrical connections after all, so why couldn't you replicate that in the form of a standard circuit board? In essence, you could create a digital consciousness. And one thing she knew about William, he was nothing if not cautious. A planner. Someone who had backup plans to his backup plans. And sure enough, there it was, buried in piles of old animatronic CPUs, a record of Afton himself. But she needed someone to test it.
Someone was definitely here during the night. It had to have been the client. I mean, they sent us that stuff in the first place with no explanation, told us to scan it, said it would expedite the process so we wouldn't need to program any pathfinding ourselves.
Unlike the other games that she'd paid to have made in the past, this one had a different purpose. This wasn't about PR, it was about getting William back up and running, spreading his virus to the masses.
You acknowledge that Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for accidental digital consciousness transference, real-world manifestations of digital characters.
She hired a new developer, Silver Parasol Games, to scan the boards and bring her husband into the system. And because of the immersive nature of VR, William's consciousness would be able to merge with the player, giving him a new body, a new agency. There was just one complication. Afton's hold wasn't as powerful as she had hoped. He wasn't able to gain complete control. The first trial run, Jeremy, was so desperate to escape from his grasp that he sliced his own face off with a paper shredder. Messy. Afton's followers were reluctant, to say the least. But it was the second attempt that looked like it had the potential to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Enter Vanessa. Mrs. Afton wanted a surrogate daughter.
So of
her
course
darling
she's possessed.
Elizabeth would have been a young woman at this point if she had lived. And Clara wanted someone who wasn't Elizabeth but could be just like her. Could she have just rebuilt her like Gregory? Sure, but she decided against it because she wanted an actual human mother-daughter connection.
If you're having 2 robot
it would be redundant,
children,
narratively unsatisfying to have 2 robot kids in the same family. What could she say? William had put a lot of tools on the table for her to use, and she was planning on using them all.
She's
Plus,
smart.
Elizabeth had always been so loyal to Daddy. It was time to give her a second chance.
I think she was
true
literally
choice.
helping him a
And
lot.
Vanessa seemed to be the perfect candidate to fill the role.
Your dad's name was Bill? Your dad didn't play fair, did he? He used to make your mum look bad in court. He manipulated you. I know your mum after she lost the custody case.
I was supposed to be
She started as a QA tester at Silver Parasol Games, the VR game development company that was part of her plan to bring back William. But more importantly, Vanessa checked all the correct boxes. Right age, blonde, green eyes with a fondness for flowers and the outdoors. In many ways, it was her daughter all over again. Except it wasn't just looks and personality. What really mattered was Vanessa's mind. Underconfident, coming from a broken home, motherless, able to be manipulated. Yes, she would do nicely. She would be the one to save dear old Daddy, just as the real Elizabeth would have wanted.
I will make you proud, Daddy.
While testing the VR game, William's digital consciousness merged with Vanessa. Oh sure, she fought, fragmenting Afton's code into a series of tapes hidden across the game, trying to do web searches to regain control over her life, but it wasn't enough. She was weaker.
I have another thing. Wouldn't all of the children be British then? And come on.
Than Jeremy. She was a thrall that, despite occasional moments of lucidity, had to obey.
I'm trying so hard not to fall asleep and act tired.
Her daughter back while
I
also
am
bringing
tired,
her husband one step
but I'm
closer
trying
to
to push
reactivation.
myself
She
just
had to make sure that Vanessa
this.
was headed the right way.
This planet's our only home.
I know, we're not treating our home that way. It's dumb.
Gregory was an expert hacker, part of the benefits of being an Afton and a robot. So Clara had him keeping tabs on Vanessa, hacking into her emails and trailing her therapy sessions to ensure the future Elizabeth was falling in line. If any of the therapists started to ask too many questions, they were promptly dismissed from their positions. And while Gregory kept tabs on Vanessa's personal life, Mrs. Afton made sure to clear a path for her professionally. With Silver Parasol's collapse at the hands of the Anomaly, she then had the possessed Vanessa bring the contaminated circuit boards to DLZ shipping and the Fazbear Funtime service. More glitches, more Remnant, more Afton. But it was her last move that was the best. In a true masterpiece of poetry, she brought Vanessa over to be Chief Security Officer at the Pizzaplex. A true family tradition to don the hat and badge, and all it took was a recommendation from the top as well as some emails marked for deletion. Sure, Vanessa didn't have relevant experience for the job, but when it comes directly from the CEO, does it really matter? Husband, son, daughter. A corpse, a robot, a human. All that was left was Michael. Poor, troubled Michael. The boy that killed her youngest. The one that would spend years trying to make his guilty conscience right again. A self-professed protector. While she knew she needed him to complete the family, something told her that the problem had already solved itself. Something had shifted when using Glamrock Freddy to excavate the buried pizza place.
I have been here before. I found myself for the first time when
I know this for sure. This is Michael because Remnant. It seemed like he didn't pass on after the fire burned, and that's upsetting because he wanted to be free, right? But to be fair, you could get different stories. You don't know which story is the good one, but. Freaking. Sorry, I'm tired. Anyway. What time is it? It's almost 5. Okay. But we know for sure it is Michael because as soon as we start, because when people went down here, you heard Grandma Freddy talking differently. And also he was protecting Gregory. So there's a lot of reasons why I think this could be Michael. And there's a lot of reasons why that I think Evan is Gregory. And also, Evan / Gregory is a freaking robot.
I have changed. My friends are here.
Even though it's just theories, I know for a fact it's true. Because if it's not, then I feel dumb. But all of those small little connections are right there. I feel like people are just blind sometimes. No offense. No offense if you don't believe that theory as well. I get it. You just don't want to see it, or you have other reasons why to believe it, but still.
Maybe it was the remnant that had coursed through Michael's veins. Maybe it was the spirit of Michael living on as a protector, but he was there, somewhere inside of Glamrock Freddy. She could feel it. And just like that, she'd won. She'd done it. Sure, there were still some kinks to work out, some final brainwashing of Vanessa, some rehabilitation of William, but they were there. Finally, all together again under one roof. The Aftons reunited.
Okay, what happened to you when you died?
And that's how it could have ended. That's how it should have ended, had it not been for a few unanticipated developments. For one, something was just wrong with the Pizzaplex. Almost as if the entire building was haunted, possessed. Puppet plushies hiding on ceilings, behind crates, places that they had no earthly way of belonging. Staff bots with greasy tears down their eyes acting like they were being puppeteered by some sort of a nightmare. Even their sounds had the echo of nightmares long past. It was as though a guardian spirit of the past refused to move on. As long as her husband was around, it too would linger. Only now, it wasn't just in one body, but it was in the essence of the building itself. She had seen stories of houses built on burial grounds getting possessed by angry spirits, but she'd never assumed that it could be real. Then again, in a world of living spirit metal and mind-controlling glitches, who was she to be so judgmental? The whole thing was ridiculous. Why would this be the line that she refused to cross? After all, the Pizzaplex was built over the burial ground of angry spirits, but it was the power cords that finally convinced her that something was wrong. Suddenly, these cords were striped black and white, like the security puppet from generations
But here's the thing, they're all next to the arcade machines, where Gregory is always the top scorer, GGY. So that's probably when something happened.
Very foundations of this place, the materials and wires that constituted it, were rebelling against her, against the Aftons, against the quest to bring them all together again. And it was being helped by something else, something slithering through the building. Maybe they were connected, she couldn't be sure, but a blob of living wires could be heard oozing through the walls, stealing pieces and parts of the old animatronics showcased in Rockstar Row. She could only assume that it was a byproduct of all the remnant they'd been collecting. From Afton's testing, she knew that both light and dark remnant existed, one of positive emotions and the other created from anguish, anger, agony. Perhaps this thing was an amalgamation of all the darkest parts of the pizzeria's history, a collection of the hatred still housed inside these defunct endoskeletons and exosuits. As long as it was left alone, it seemed to be harmless. But if any Afton outside of Michael got too close, it would lash out wildly. Even young Gregory, looking to punish the family that had been complicit in its horrible creation. Little did she know, though, that Gregory should have been her biggest concern, that bringing the family together would have some unforeseen consequences. Gregory was normally the goodest of boys. She had literally built him that way. But lately, he'd been disappearing more and more often, disobeying her orders. Requests. She knew that he loved playing on the arcade machines once the Pizzaplex closed, being so good as to top the leaderboard on practically all of them. But lately, he was nowhere to be found. She suspected his absence had to do with Glamrock Freddy's failed performance the other night, when he malfunctioned live on stage, almost as though the core programming of Freddy responded to seeing this rebuilt small boy. Almost like it awakened something inside of him. She'd have to make sure that Vanessa was on the lookout for him, but she'd soon come to learn that Vanessa wasn't enough. Whether it was the influence of the nightmare puppet or a reawakened hatred of animatronics seated deep in Gregory's code, something had caused him to rebel, to rip apart each animatronic in the Pizzaplex. Bit by bit, this boy was tearing down the empire that she'd so painstakingly built, freeing Vanessa from her mind control, destroying the remains of Afton in the basement, setting Glamrock Freddy loose. As her carefully created world crumbled around her one more time, she began to plot her revenge. She would have to bring them all to ruin. And there you have it, my friends, nearly a decade in the making, my FNAF timeline for where the franchise is here in 2023, the year of Fazbear Frights, by the way. As always, it wouldn't be right for me to finish without going over some of the more controversial takes that I just handed out. I think we can all agree that this part of the timeline was always going to be the hardest, so let me just break down some of the major points. First of all, the
phones were so different back in the day.
The biggest swing of this episode, and obviously the one that everything else rests upon, Mrs. Afton being the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment LLC. Here's why I went with this route. Now, first and foremost, the head of Fazbear Entertainment is the single biggest mystery that we're meant to solve at this point in the lore. The Ultimate Guide brings it up repeatedly. Who's running the show? Who's okaying these decisions? And in the security breach memos, we get multiple mentions of someone manipulating things from the top down. Whoever this is, they are the person driving forward every other facet of late-stage FNAF lore here. They're the puppet master who's hiring the indie dev. They're the ones relaunching the brand, building the Pizzaplex over the burial ground.
We don't know who, because no one showed up.
At the end of the timeline relies on this one singular answer. Now, as I see it, there are two possibilities here. One,
I feel like from FNAF 4, Michael's friends, we know that, what's the new girl? Not Cassidy. Okay, the new girl in Ruin, FNAF Ruin. We know that her dad worked at FNAF, and we know it's the bunny dude because I saw some of game theories. But it could be one of Michael's FNAF friends that are rebuilding this. Or it could be the mystery Fredbear partner of William who weared Fredbear. But we don't know. That's the thing. So I was just like, okay. But that's what I think. That's my theory for who's running the show. But I'm not 100% sure.
Adult robot Elizabeth, like we see older versions of robot kids in the fourth closet, or Mrs. Afton. Could it be someone completely new to the franchise? Absolutely yes.
Yes, but again, we don't know who. That's the point. That's what I'm getting. But also, we know Vanessa / Vanny is the one that gets hypnotized and starts murdering kids. Trying to do what William did. But I feel, again, Claire would be dead at this point. Or just very old. So it has to be someone else, but we don't know who. We don't even know whose Henry's wife was. And to be fair, I know there's a theory out there saying that Henry has a son named Sammy or Samuel. But I don't believe that just because we only knew it's Charlie. So that's what I'm getting.
But in a game with so many returning faces and repeated themes, it would be pretty random and arbitrary. So, between these two girl bosses, who then would it be? Well, Elizabeth always wants to please her daddy, so she'd be most likely wanting to bring him to life. But then, what's Vanessa's role in all of this? Vanessa is clearly meant to be a parallel for Elizabeth. Same hair, same eyes.
Because if you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry if I'm pausing, but I'm trying to get my theories out there. If you haven't seen the movie, right here, in my hands, if you haven't seen the movie, the movie has canon events from the books and the games, including like the books have canon events from the movie and the games. Every single FNAF thing has canon events that could lead to solving lore closer towards the games. And it says that Vanessa was the daughter of William. So, of course, she is a parallel of Elizabeth. And I know for a fact that it is, because I saw the movie like more than 10 times already. Sorry.
Backstories, but if the main goal is getting the Afton family back together, which seems to clearly be the case,
it also makes sense. It still makes sense why Freddy was so protective over Gregory. Michael was trying to redeem himself from doing what he didn't do when he was younger, because he was being an older brat, as always, like a teenager would, over a little sibling. So it makes sense.
Need for Vanessa to be involved at all. We already have Elizabeth running the show. It would also mean that we suddenly have 2 robot kids running around, which feels narratively repetitive and quite frankly kind of dumb.
Yes.
Now look at Mrs. Afton. We know next to nothing about her outside of any clues that we can get from Immortal and the Restless and Bellora's song. But what her being head of Fazbear does is make every other piece of the lore fit. Suddenly, you can have one of every other type of character.
It does fit,
one robot kid in Gregory, one brainwashed human in Elizabeth /
But
Vanessa.
how would we know it's the mom? I know people said that she died, but I believe that she's alive, just very old and far away from this. Because she left the house. Again, she left the house, didn't even decide to bring Michael with her. She literally left her own family to grief on their own, let Michael deal with the nightmares and all this trauma while William, like, she didn't even try her hardest to get William back to her. She just instantly left. Like, maybe there wasn't much you could have done back in the days, but there is such thing as therapy. Let's say that. But unless if they were poor or something, I don't know. But for sure, she could have taken Michael with her. I don't know why I'm getting so defensive over this. I'm just trying to tell you guys what I believe. I'm sorry again.
One OG corpse in William, and one possessed animatronic in Mike. Narratively, it makes everything else cleaner. Legally, it's also the option that makes the most sense. As I call out in my narrative, she'd likely have some stake in the original company and all of its assets. So as Fazbear folds as a company, I suspect a lot of it would return back to her. But there was one clue that
But then, here's the thing. She would probably have to pass it on to someone else, which who would it be? Did she have a secret friend? Like, we know that they didn't have any other children. That's what I'm saying. It makes no sense, but it makes sense by putting Clara Afton as this theory for now, because we don't have any other people that we can put in the theory. Am I wrong for saying that? I get why he did it. Also, I know for sure Gregory is a robot and is literally trying to be like Evan right now, which is the crying child. The one that died from the bite of 83.
Sold me on this particular direction, and that was this right here. In the post the big lore central of Security Breach, a dinner table scene with the whole family, including the mother. And not only is she there, she is at the head of that table.
And look, crying child, head bit off, the dad, the sister, because she is circus baby, and then the older brother who's being a brat because he would have like the helicopter head or something because he's a brat. Well, not anymore, but like when he was younger, I meant.
Position of highest honor and responsibility. She is the one in charge, with William being relegated off to the side. That one scene shows that we have to include Mom in there somewhere, and the only place it makes sense for her to be is at the top. Now, there is one big dilemma with my interpretation of all this. The Ultimate Guide really seems to point out that the head of Fazbear doesn't want the glitch trap virus to spread. They call out one particular email in FNAF AR where the legal team calls a cease and desist to all action about scanning the circuit boards. And even in FNAF VR, we're told that the circuit boards get stolen back by the client, presumably once they realize what danger is on there, trying to stop Glitch Trap before he spreads and gets out of hand. Here's the problem with that though, if the head of Fazbear doesn't want Afton to rise again, why'd they restart the company in the first place?
Again, it makes sense why you would put Claire there, but again, we don't know who anyone else is. I get why he chose this theory, and I agree with him so far, but at the same time, I don't, because who else would it be? And second of all, Claire would be old, of course, or died. We wouldn't know, but I know for sure she didn't die that early on. We know that she left the house. And the singing and the lines for Belore, for sure, she did not die from William. It didn't say any specific small hints or lore saying that she died. It didn't. I literally have the two books over here on my side, and it would probably say, oh yeah, blah, 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 she died. No, she left. Because I know William was drunk, but he never abused anyone. He was always infested with his work. He only experimented on Michael, which was only mentally with the nightmares, not physically. So
why'd they build over the FNAF 6 pizzeria? Why'd they go
also
through an
why would you
elaborate
build
cover-up to
over
make
it?
the possessed Vanessa an important part of the company? Just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It would be the most inconsistent series of actions ever, but I did want to call attention to it since it seems to be the route that the official guide is trying to steer us towards. Moving on to minor point number 1, the Five Nights at Freddy's games were made by the Rogue indie developer. Here's the thing, FNAF VR opens with this line.
That's why we have recreated many of these completely fictitious scenarios, lies that you've been fed over the last several years into a hilarious VR game.
It's recreating the lies told to you by the indie developer, and since Help Wanted has direct recreations of FNAFs 1 through 3, it means the games must be part of the fabrications that this developer made up. Also, all of this is heavily implied in the story of the same name, Help Wanted and Tales of the Pizzaplex.
I want those book series so badly.
Games within the lore of the series. Big swing number 2, the elephant, or ghost in the room, Charlie infecting the Pizzaplex. John from the channel FNAF has made some great
Now I know that
Charlie's
theory is pretty true, because we
the
saw the wires.
That looked like the striped arms of the puppet, the Nightmarion plushies that you find hidden across the Pizzaplex in weird places, the staff bots with creepy smiles and in your dreams written.
In your dreams. Right there.
on the front. All of these things scream puppets. Plus, with the puppet mask not having tears in the blob, seems to imply that Charlie's spirit exists elsewhere. She is still in play.
So apparently, that means her spirit was lifted. She went to whatever. But then she sees the angry spirits returning and herself because they had to torture William because Cassidy was making the downfall for all the other spirits that they did not want. William still being alive. They wanted him gone for good so they could move on. But they didn't. Cassidy made all of them hurt him in the ultimate FNAF game that I have on Steam that we will play soon. So, of course, Charlie couldn't move on. She had to stay. She was pulled down by Cassidy. And then, when the Pixaplex comes in, of course, she decides this was under where William died. So her spirit goes up, the blob goes up with all the angry spirits, and just thrash out at anyone. It doesn't care if you're a security guard or an Afton, they would always thrash out, but mostly at the Aftons. It's dumb, but mostly at William. And Charlie would have the wires infesting the arcade machines where it says GGY, where Gregory would literally be playing the arcade games because he was living in the pizzeria because he's a robot. Like, what else would you do if you're pretending to be a child and you have memories then? Because someone rebuilt the memories of Evan. I'm such a FNAF person, you can tell.
And she has an important role, especially in Gregory's post-it room. The doors to the post-it room in the game's code are called Charlie doors. And inside, we see a bunch of lit-up nightmare staff bot heads. Suspicious, to say the least. The channel ID's Fantasy did a great theory looking at the post-it notes, concluding that the crying child / Gregory isn't alone in this room, but rather might be communicating with someone. A spirit, Charlie. Charlie's spirit seems to have pulled a poltergeist. Instead of controlling one thing, she's affecting a lot of little details, foundational elements of the Pizzaplex. And this isn't the first time that we've seen this in the franchise either. We've seen spirits communicating with people through physical writing in the survival logbook. So we know that this is an established means of spirit communication within this franchise. And I suspect that to some extent it might be Charlie's influence making Gregory go haywire.
In Albion, no matter where you go or what you do,
Which brings me then to my final and probably biggest controversy in recent FNAF history, Gregory as Patient 46, the evil robot mastermind. Now, I know when I first came out with this theory a year ago, people were mad. But
I know! I don't know why people were mad, but I literally told you my theories. Literally, you can see the hints that Gregory is literally Evan as a robot. For sure. For sure.
The thing, you don't have to take my evidence points for it anymore. The recent Tales from the Pizzaplex story GGY basically goes and just outright proves it. In GGY, we find out
again, the books have small canon lore events towards the games to help you figure out the lore and the timelines. That's what Scott is doing.
About a boy named Gregory who's getting all the high scores in the Pizzaplex arcade machines. When therapists start to go missing, it's confirmed that GGY is the one that's working to bump them off. And when animatronics start getting corrupted by a mysterious glitch, GGY's letters are found inside the code. He even chooses the code name Dr. Rabbit, for crying out loud. But obviously, by the time of security breach, Gregory is working against Burn Trap, Vanessa, and the animatronics. Why? How? Well, it's not really clear. I tend to believe that something must have happened to cause him to either lose his memory or be reset in some way. Maybe it was Charlie talking to him in his post-it room. Maybe he hit his head. Maybe it was the connection that he made with Mike on stage in Glamrock Freddy. Not exactly sure, and I don't...
Like, I think at some part in this area, it does show GGY. If you guys haven't watched all his game theories, I suggest you watch them in order of the playlist and see what your theories think then. Because he does research and he actually finds reasons.
Think we have enough clues to solve any of it yet, but it makes sense from a story perspective why he'd start off evil on Afton's side and then switch to trying to destroy him and not knowing who he is in security breach. And with that, my friends, I'm wrapping this thing up. Congratulations, we are on page 40. 22,000 words of FNAF, baby. Practically just wrote myself a Tales of the Pizzaplex short story. Have I answered everything? No. Does everything fit cleanly? No. But does it feel like the best and most cohesive narrative for all these characters that addresses most of the evidence we're given? Yeah. For me, honestly, honestly, it really does. And let's be honest with ourselves, the DLC will probably come out later this year and prove me completely wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. Then comes the movie, whatever, my descent into madness continues. But regardless, I am so proud of this. This was a massive undertaking, and I'm so proud of—
Thoughts? Let's have thoughts, What do you think now that I also put out my theories as well on this? Is it just me? I swear for sure it's just me. I don't know, but I know for sure some of these theories are right, and I am not wrong about this. I am staying by my thing. Now, tomorrow, I will be recording and reacting to this. So, thank you for sticking around. Thanks for playing Among Us, and thanks for reacting to this with me. I hope you guys enjoyed. I did as well. Have a good day or night, wherever you're watching this. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.